Take my money when I'm in need. Yeah, she's a trifling friend indeed. Oh, she's a gold digger way over town that digs on me. She a gold digger, but she ain't fucking with no broke niggas. She take me money. Now I ain't saying she a gold digger when I'm in need, but she ain't fucking with no broke niggas. Beauty salon, with baby Louis Vuitton under her underarm. She said, I can tell you rock, I can tell by your charm. Far as girls you got a flock, I can tell by your charm and your arm. But I'm looking for the one. Have you seen her? My psychic told me she'll have her ass like Serena, Trina, Jennifer Lopez, 4 kids, and I gotta take all they bad asses to show biz. Okay, get your kids, but then they got their friends. I pulled up in
almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountain, Shenandoah River. Life is older than the trees, mountains blowing like a breeze. Oh, Lord, yeah. Country roads take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, mountain mama, take me home, country roads, yeah. All my memories gather around her, miner's lady, stranger to water, dark and dusty on the sky. There's a teardrop in my eye. Oh, Lord, yeah. Country roads take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, mountain mama, take me home, country roads, yeah.
Of all the money that I've had, I spent it in good company, and all the harm that I've done, alas, 'twas done to none but me. And all I've done, for want of wit, to memory now I can't recall. So fill to me the parting glass. Good night, and joy be with you all. of all the comrades that there I've had. They're sorry for my going away, and all the sweethearts that there I've had, they wish me one more day to stay. But since it falls unto my lot that I should rise and you should not.
Broadcasting live from the Free Speech Studios. Deep within the city of Fountain. With over 4 years of satisfying the curious mind and looking damn sexy while doing it. Ladies and gentlemen, Fantom Facts Society.
I missed you.
Feels like it's been a moon a time ago.
Welcome, everybody, to what's currently the #2 most watched show on Twitter Live.
Coming for that one spot.
Watch out, Brett Murphy. Your country music hits mix on X won't last long.
Although we open up with a VH1 throwback. You know, it's like when you wake up for that road trip that you're about to take early morning and it's MTV music videos.
You know, it's just sort of the feel we want to give everyone here. You know, just let them know that we're here for you. It's been a long Monday, recovering, no real distractions. I've been looking. Still no Epstein list. It's odd.
No.
Thought it was right. Thought it was going to be right here at my hands tonight. And I think a lot of that has to do with our...
that rhymes with schmerial.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with our special guest tonight. And Uncensored Speech. Look him up on X, everyone. He's the co-host of JQ Radio 24/7, which is now currently #1 on X Spaces, running live. So without further ado, let's bring. I love how Uncensored covers half of your profile picture.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fix that for you. Welcome aboard.
Yeah, you can't hide the mustache.
Guys, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you good.
Awesome, good deal. Sorry, I had a problem with one other mic. I had to make sure this one would work out.
Oh.
Oh yeah, you did fix it. Cool deal. I was gonna say it might be a good idea. It keeps it kind of subliminal, right? You don't know who it is you're looking at there.
Yeah. Who is? Oh, the mustache
With that dapper haircut and that strong mustache.
Well, if you do it that way, you know it looks like we're censoring it with the word uncensored, which is sort of a fun irony.
Yeah, no, it tends to be, right? How are you guys doing?
Good.
Well, we're doing good, man. We appreciate you coming on the show. I stumbled across. I'll be honest. I'm relatively new to exploring the depths of X. I would say probably 2 or 3 years of really actually looking. And I stumbled across. It was Joe Rogan that I forget what guest he had, but they played a clip of Hitler giving one of his speeches in English. I mean, it was translated into English. I think AI had translated it. And I thought that was pretty cool. So I played a clip of that on our show. And I mean, immediately all sorts of issues happened after that. And he wasn't even saying anything like, it was just very innocent little segment of old
was it
Ingolf.
naughty?
No.
Yeah, no.
And
No, I mean none of it is.
Immediately. Well, and that's why I was fan, because how many have you been working on translating these speeches or collecting them? What's your role in this?
Yeah, so what I do, sorry, they just called me. They're doing a little call there. Sorry about that. I don't even know if you heard the ringer, but if you did, I'm sorry. Um, so oddly enough, that exact same clip that you're talking about. I mean, I've always been into AI a bit, especially like the more like kind of fun sides of it. You know, the voices, doing the Trump voices. I don't know if you guys remember doing when people would be putting out like Trump and Obama and Biden playing
Oh,
Call of Duty, right? Like
yes,
that's
old
where
stuff.
me and a group of friends IRL, not a lot of those, those were super popular, but we used to put a bunch of those out, right? And so like that was kind of where the idea of like playing with the AI voice came from. And I've always been at least a fan. Hitler was always now. I mean, I've liked Hitler for a good while now. I mean, I've kind of understood the propaganda thing around that for, I mean, 4 or 5 years. But he's always been cool, right? I mean, the National Socialists looked, visually appeasing, right? I mean,
Well designed.
exactly,
Well
right? I mean,
designed. Great
very aesthetic.
uniforms.
Yeah.
I would look good in a German uniform, and I am grossly obese. I mean, that's really what's amazing about the German. I don't know if you remember Dan Carlin, Hardcore History, but he talks about the first time they saw the new German uniform, which is such a funny thing to record because, like, you're in war. But at the same time, like, as they're coming to attack you, you're like, God damn it. Those guys look good. I mean, essentially
It's
that,
so dapper.
paraphrase. Yeah, he's like, God damn it, those guys look good. Meanwhile, they're in Napoleon outfits from, 1877.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that's World War I, but it translated flawlessly into World War II. It's tight. It's like an Audi, like you can have a 99 Audi and people are like, nice. So,
No, for sure.
go
Um,
ahead.
no, yeah, you're good. So I've always kind of, I think every guy a little bit, at least thinks they look cool. But once you really like him, then it becomes a separate thing, right? When you start liking, like, this is the last and the only modern group, major group, political force that has stood up against the banking system in the past couple 100 years and really, really done damage and completely been able to knock them out within their own country, save themselves from a horrible situation that they were in Weimar, and then come out, and then obviously the repercussions of that.
Well, let's stop right there, man, because I mean, I want to get into all that stuff, but I want to sort of hear your personal journey through this, because I feel like everyone has sort of their own story of this realization that's is still being censored across the internet, especially with the work of these speeches being translated. But for you, like because everyone got the same propaganda and the same Call of Duty, right? I mean, maybe the Germans zombie and Call of Duty 2, maybe it made them look a little cooler. But we were all playing the same propagandized games. So at what point are you starting to be like, well, some of this stuff isn't adding up, what I'm being told through history versus what I'm researching? What was that point for you?
So it was probably 4 or 5 years ago, and it really came from well, it came from getting into the Jews, right? Getting into that problem. Once you get that, there's a lot of things that kind of you realize, and the main one being this, right? I mean, if the Jews are generally a problem throughout history and they are still doing these things, well, that means that the whole propaganda around World War II is, let's start looking into that. And so, looking into, Germar Rudolph, stuff like that. And once you get past the Holocaust, it gets a lot easier to then be like, okay, well, not only do they look cool, let's dig into these people themselves, right? Then you go read Mein Kampf. And then you're like, okay, all right, so hold on a minute now. I'm liking this. This I'm enjoying. I am relating to this. I mean, especially today, right? I mean, we're in like a mini Weimar right now. It's going to get worse, I'm sure. But I mean, we are in these first early steps. I mean, you could say in some ways we're further, but either way, we're getting into this. So there's that relatability, right? And then going into the speeches, which there is something to be understood about. Speeches are, propaganda, but also that propaganda isn't a bad word, right? I mean, he's saying things that he wants to convey to his people, while at the same time holding up his end of what he's saying, right? So it's, yes, he's saying all these, beautiful things. It's a written speech. He's trying to come out and make it sound good, but at the same time, he does go and do these things. He does pull his people out of the depths of a horrible situation, and so that is somewhere in the middle of Mein Kampf and getting into the speeches is where I was like, okay, not only are they cool, not only is Nazi Zombies cool and was that whole little storyline cool, but also these are the good guys, and not only the good guys, but like very much so the good guys. And so, I mean, from there, it just kind of became well, what do I do, right? Like, what can I possibly do to like help this? How do I do something? I think we get asked that a lot in JQ. Is like, okay, well, now what, right? Like that, everyone wants to go get their hands dirty and be like, okay, well, let's go. We got to go be activists. We got to get it out in the street. And it's like, we're not there. We're just not there, in my opinion. I think that these types of things, like what we're doing right now, what we do on JQ, putting out speeches, that type of thing, this educational side of it, that has to come first. And that's the stage that we're in right now. So once I kind of got around to like, okay, well, there's got to be something that I can, what am I good at, right? What do I do? And I do a lot of stuff with AI. And so it wound up being like, okay, I'll figure out something to do. And at first I was going to start using it to summarize chapter by chapter with Chat GPT or something like that, which now looking back, I'm glad I didn't, because GPT now is like, 1,000 times better than GPT a year ago. So it's like, man, I'm glad I didn't do that. Shouldn't have done that anyways. But then that clip that you were talking about Joe Rogan came on, and I'd seen that, and I was like, oh, okay, that we can do. So then I just took a bunch of his speeches and pulled the audio from him, made a voice of his out of it, and started going at it. I mean, I had to have made my first one about, I don't know, early April of last year, April 5th or something like that. So, I mean, but I didn't start putting them out like in mass for 3 months, probably. I put like 4 out, 5 out maybe in that first 3 months, or 2 months maybe. Because probably the first 2 months. Because by the end of June, I was doing 1 a day, and then like sometimes 2 a day. And, they're various lengths, right? Some are a couple minutes, some are 2 hours. But
Where were you getting the original footage for these?
So for the that is not, they're already in English, right? So all you have to do is feed the transcripts into the AI, pay for the voice, and that's it, right? Like these have already been done by Oxford, etc. There's huge, because it's one of these things that it's censored only in that like everyone today is lazy, right? No one wants to go read them, otherwise everyone would have already done it. So that's where like bridging that gap of like, well, you're not going to go read this, you're not going to go read Mein Kampf, so you will listen to it though.
Well,
that's where. Go ahead.
Did you find like outlets like YouTube were censoring?
Oh, certainly.
So I mean, like I just it's sort of hey, you can go and read it any time, but any publication with any effort added to it is highly frowned upon. They need to just sort of sit and collect dust, I think, is their thought process. And the whole idea of America being a republic based on being able to hash out ideas in the open. I mean, I've got some clips too. We can pull up too, but like with Dan Bongino and Tim Pool, and I mean, it's I wouldn't say scary, but it's eye-opening to see the amount of reach the Jewish mob has in American politics and infrastructure. Which when you listen to these speeches, you're like,
yeah, it's not just
somebody was trying to tell us something.
Yeah, it's not a new thing, right? I mean, it's not a new thing. This is something that has been going on, right? I mean, they've been doing this.
And I think for our listeners, this is they've sort of followed our journey, through conspiracy to now, spoiler services united, because all this stuff is coming out to be true. But at the same time, you're just like, we did a show, what was it, Friday night, the Forbidden Episode is what we called it. And you can go on Spotify and check it out, Fantom Facts Society. but it sort of followed the trail of the Frankfurt Institute of what was it, social affairs or whatever it was,
going into Columbia and stuff.
Oh,
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, just and then it's spreading into Indiana University, and we had already covered Kinsley, a year or so before. The sex god of American education turns out to be influenced by this, and that's what influenced the school networks, and you're starting to just see all these connections. And then I got this one clip. Let me pull it up. Give me a sec. I'm not.
But you are right. I mean, I saw a lot of stuff today on Twitter coming out that that's kind of a big holdup on the Epstein list is because of the control, and then the
Gino
fact
just
that he might be an informant. Oh, there you go. Boom.
Yeah. This is a little clip you shared, I think.
perfectly
May.
elucidated why we are so obsessed with Israel right now. And despite his and this whole administration's endless Zionist rhetoric, this is why, if you are pro-Israel, you are not currently America first. And until we deal with this problem, we are not a free nation.
About a year and a half after that, I'm in a green room at Fox, and I'm not going to say who because they didn't give me permission to share. It says, Epstein's an intelligence asset for people in the Middle East, right? I'm like, no, I didn't know that. I'm like, you sure of that? The person, let's say, is like, I'm absolutely sure of that. That he's either a witting or unwitting asset, intelligence asset. Meaning,
this part.
His plane and that island, the cameras, there's a big assumption out there that these videotapes were exclusively in the custody of Epstein. That's a huge mistake. The reason they wanted this story to go away is because there's an assumption like, oh yeah, Epstein had him. No, he wasn't the only one who had him, according to this source. These assets, that's why this blackmail story makes so much sense. Which Middle Eastern countries they are, I don't know. But
you don't know? You don't know which Middle Eastern nations? So there's this entire trafficking ring made.
All right. You pause it right there. Thoughts, Uncensored.
Well, I mean, look, this gets into, what does Dan know that he's not saying, and what is he?
Why is he
genuinely
not
oblivious
saying
to?
it?
Oh, why? We know why.
Why is
If
he
he knows, there's a couple options, right? I mean, the options being blackmail on himself, right? It's not like that operation ended. That's the whole thing around it, right? It's the reason it's not come out, like Dan just said there, which I don't like Dan. I mean, I'm not I'm so black pilled on all that.
That's why we love having people of all varieties on this show, because we want to hear it. We want to hear everyone's echo chamber. We love all the different echo chambers. We don't want to just be stuck in our own. So, anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just didn't want you to feel like you're, fighting mega people.
No, black pill me, baby. Here we go.
No, we got. I'm buddies with everyone but Jews and communists.
So well rounded.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's in most of that overlaps, so it's like pretty simple. But okay, so what was I just saying? Oh, so Dan, what he was just saying was, well, it's not just Epstein that had this information, and it's like, yeah, my man, that's why it's not going to come out, because everyone is still blackmailed. Like all of Congress, everyone in the government, they're all still blackmailed. So obviously we're not going to get it, or we're going to get. This is the thing with all this stuff coming up, right? And I've kind of made this little. My issue here is that we're like, okay, awesome. Finally, the government that we don't trust, so we need to see their files, are going to release files to us that we've not been allowed to see, and we're going to have to trust that the files they're releasing to us are the truth and aren't edited and aren't bullshit. We don't know. We have no way of knowing. But what we do know is that, well, we don't know, right? I don't know where Dan's at. I assume all these people know, right? I mean, they're so zioed out. I mean, they are just completely for Israel.
We played that Pete Hegseth Zionist film or a Zionist clip where he's all bragging about being all in for Zion, and it's just as someone that was raised to really focus on theology and in Christianity, And to see this, I saw this huge movement in YouTube probably about 6 years ago. These YouTube pastors, and it was for people that were disconcerted with churches, attending churches, and then it really got boosted during COVID. But what happened is that there was, it funneled into maybe 4 or 5 major preachers that were getting all the views, and they were having these guests on. One guy was a former governor of Jordan, the country of Jordan. He was a former governor that had now become Christian, and it just all reeked of Zionism, right? And then it all made sense as soon as Gaza happened, because when I talked to these people that had followed these pastors for the last 5-10 years, all in, just cognitive disconnect completely on that subject, because they were convinced it was going to bring about the end times. And to me, when I look back, I was like, that was a huge psyop in my mind. And because Christianity is tied close to Judaism, and everyone wants the end times, and what's better than destruction in Israel? And so you got to keep that facade going and bring in your Christian vote. And the Christian vote, we laugh it off because it's not 90% like it was, 50 years ago. But it's still a big chunk of this country, or the morals based off of Christianity still affect this country. So, it's just, we're, and then we witness Israel commit atrocities worse than what the Nazis were reported on doing to them.
No, I mean, listen, I mean, I myself, I am Christian. I say that all the time, but I'm Catholic, so I have a historical reason to not be cool with Jews. So, I go with it like that. But, I think about Herzl, right? Theodor Herzl, the father of Zionism, right? Wrote to Pope Pius XI. Oh God, I don't even know.
There's argument about him being the father of it. There's a belief that it was a Masonic, structure, and then Herzl just sort of stumbled across it using their logic, and they encouraged it and published it out to the world. But either way, it was accepted as this is what's got to happen.
Oh, well, yeah, and I mean, either way, right? I would my response would be to say that, like, well, all Freemasonry is Shabbos Goy Judaism, right? I mean, it is for the Goy, right? It's for the Goy to work for the Jews, right, and to have their little fun, their little clubs, etc. And like, this is why I don't know if you guys are familiar with something like the protocols, right? The protocols of the Elders of Zion.
No, Nope.
Okay. So, have you ever, been through? Have you had any contact with something like, Henry Ford, right, being an anti-Semite, writing the book? Right?
Yep.
Okay.
We are Fantom Facts, after all.
Okay, good deal. Just making sure, right? So Henry Ford spent a good third, probably, I don't know about a third, maybe a quarter of his book going over the protocols, right? What the protocols of the Elders of Zion are it's this document that came out of Russia in like 1904, was translated. It supposedly came out of one of the Zionist councils, right? Because the first Zionist council was, I think, in 1883. Then they had one like every 4 years or something like that. But wound up being so the earliest one, right, that we know for sure is the one that's in the British Museum. It's dated 1906. And it talks about wanting to start a world war. I don't know, depending on how familiar you guys are with Freemasonry, right? Pike's letter, right? Yeah, so right there, yeah, that would be a good place to go. The whole thread's right there. Long 36-hour book. The easier way to do it is just to follow it to that guy's original Rumble channel right there. But
just to pause there real quick. Wanted to mention that we're the #2 live show on X, just barely behind Brett Murphy. Just barely behind Brett Murphy. So, okay, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. We'll catch him. I don't know who Brett Murphy is, but
he's playing.
Never heard of her. Never heard of her.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I have no clue. Couldn't tell you. So obviously, I mean, to me, you guys are first. So, So in the protocol, Pike's letter, right? I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. Talks about wanting 3 world wars, supposed to come out of Albert Pike, one of the 33rd degree Masons in 1890 or something like that, is when it supposedly came out.
Interesting.
But a lot of the same sentiments are within the protocols. And basically the protocols are, I think there's 24 of them, 25 of them. And they go over basically how the Jews are going to take over the world. Long story short. And it's very particular, very, very particular. It's not super long, but it goes right into like what the plan is. And then the problem becomes, the response is, well, this document's, forged and it's fabricated a little bit, etc. But the problem becomes that, well, all the things, we know for sure it existed in 1906, but all the things that it talks about wound up happening. Oh, perfect, from HT here.
Do you want me to read through some of these for people?
Yeah, do it.
This is new to us, so
brand new.
Yeah, and stop us wherever you want to put emphasis. So this is the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion. And now this is tied to Ford, you said? Or Ford was a subscriber to this?
No. So Ford spent a good portion of his book, right? Henry Ford wrote The International Jew.
Right.
That's his book. But he spent a large portion of that book, not a large, 25%, something like that, going over the protocols and talking about how it was being implemented, right?
Exposing it.
Okay. And tracking the things that had already happened by the time of him writing the book. I think he wrote it in 18, 19, 20, something like that. I don't know when exactly Henry Ford's book came out, but it came out at least 15 years after we found these. And so already some things that happened, like World War I had already happened. A lot of the things that protocols point out wind up happening in World War I. The banking system, things like that,
Okay.
Federal Reserve, all that. Either way, but yeah, you can, if you want to, you can just run through a couple, just pick a few just to give a idea of them, I guess.
So this is 1897 edition, and Ford's calling it out, several decades later as like, hey, they're already halfway through some of these. So they got to place our agents and helpers everywhere, take control of media and use it in propaganda for our plans, start fights between different races, classes, and religions. All right.
Yeah,
so
check.
Use bribery, threats, and blackmail to get our way.
Oh, that's kind of what we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Use Freemason lodges to attract potential public officials. Appeal to successful people's egos. Man, Jews.
Yeah, so it does, it does wind up being that it is, at the end of, for the regular conspiracy theorist, right? There's all these rabbit holes to go down, but once you really see the full picture, you just take the T off the end of that rabbit, and it's all just a bunch of rabbi holes, and everything is connected down there at the end at the synagogue. So it's there's no way to really tackle how big of a problem is, but that's we got 24-hour space.
Give bad advice to governments and everybody else. I mean, you see that with Israel, right? Like how they handled the Trump debacle in the second election, and what is your thoughts on how Trump's because we watched that clip of Trump announcing that they were going to take control of Gaza, and it did seem like Bibi was felt that was a boo-boo. Or do you think that was all planned? What are your feelings here?
Yeah, so my problem is that because some people will tell me that, and I'm in my head when I look at BB, I didn't think it looked that way, right? I thought it looked the opposite. So to me, there's already like an issue there, just because I was already. He just seems like such a smug asshole all the time that it's hard to just view him as being anything other than that. And I do think that he looked that way. Other people have that other opinion there. I don't know, but it's definitely the only thing. Like I'll give Ian Carroll this is that what he was saying is that, well, this is the only way to immediately stop bloodshed. But what's the actual thing that's going to happen here? What's going to happen if we do it in a real boots on the ground way or something like that? We're going to get some troops in there. Israel is going to pay a bunch of people to go and murder some troops and say it was Hamas or Iran. And then what happens? None of that is a positive. And so it whether that's Trump's intention or not, it just seems it takes about 5 minutes of thinking about, well, how could it go wrong for that to come up? And then it's like, well, if it took me 5 minutes to think of that, maybe like, because I just can't imagine that they're all, including Trump, just completely oblivious. That would require him being oblivious to Israel as a threat, right? And I just don't think that he is. Like, I don't think he's a dumbass, for sure.
No.
I don't know that he has good intentions, but I don't think he's a dumbass. So either he's in bed with them, or I don't know, man, or he's hoping that this will turn out not that way, right? Maybe they're going to plan for that or something. But you don't want I'm one that doesn't think Trump was. Now, I voted in 2016 for Trump, but that was before I really knew a lot.
Well, and here's the thing, I did too, and my feeling on I'd paid attention to politics, and for a long time as a kid, because it was banned in our religion, and so my rebellious stage for some reason involved me listening to Rush Limbaugh, which was a big no-no. So here I am from 13 until the Daily Show, and then I went from, Rush really pissed me off all the time because the Iraq War was going on. And Jon Stewart was exposing the Iraq War, and you got this feeling like, oh, the media is understanding, they're starting to expose themselves. And, I was, 19, 20. So very ignorant and gullible to the propaganda at that time. And Obama came along, and I had considered voting for him. And then by a second term, I was so glad I didn't. And then you saw Obama talk about how he was going to end this war machine, and Obama comes into office, and then he gets all the Democrats in charge there for the first 2 years, and it just keeps running like a well-oiled machine.
Choo-choo, baby. Choo-choo.
And that was my moment of like, what the heck is going on here? And so it almost became, when Trump came along, I watched Jeb Bush hate on him. Jeb Bush and his campaign were the ones that hired the Steele dossier to be done in the first place. And so I couldn't, the fact Jeb Bush hated him, all the Democrats hated him. I thought, hey, this guy's going to come in, burn it down. It'll be the best time ever. He's talking smack to people. And then he went into office, and he was massively underqualified and had no clue who friends and foes were, because the war machine and the lobby, the AIPAC was way more powerful than whatever Trump was. And to say Trump wasn't under their control to begin with,
and sophisticated. I mean, either way. I mean, it's a lot to deal with. I don't, then yes, I kind of had your same sentiment, right? I was like, man, this guy is. I mean, he's coming in, he's talking shit to people, he's freaking pulling world leaders into his chest, right? Like, I mean, he's just pushing his way at the UN, right? Like, I like all that shit. I want that. That is, I'm sorry, we have 22 nuclear powered aircraft carriers. I'm gonna throw my shoulders around a little bit. That's how it is, right? I mean, we're the U.S. I like that. It's just that he did just. I'm quite certain, like when he first went bankrupt, when he was bought out by Jews, like that's my whole thing, right? Like I think this is from the 90s, right? They went bankrupt, got his loans paid off by a Jew. Ross, what was his name? Ron? I don't remember. But
Cohen? No.
Yeah, I mean, quite possible that it could have been. But he got it paid off, and then he gets this movie deal. Or not movie deal, his The Apprentice show later and stuff, and he marries his kids off to Jews, right? I mean, like Kushner, right? I mean, his daughter married Kushner. Bibi Netanyahu stays at Jared Kushner's house when he comes to town sometimes. I mean, like, this isn't like they're acquaintances. These people are very much buddies. So it's hard for me to overlook that stuff.
Well, that's like, I didn't even know that about. I mean, I knew Kushner was sweet on him. And the whole Abrahamic Accord covenant that they came to was, a lot of it went to Kushner's dealings. But I also took note that I never saw Kushner or Ivanka during the campaign. And I'm not saying that they weren't involved, but it was interesting that the Trump campaign noticed that it was a good idea to keep them as far away as possible while he was campaigning. Do you want to watch this little clip here? It's a little 2 minute. It's a little 2 minute.
Oh,
clip
cool.
here.
Yeah.
Goyim are mentally inferior to Jews and can't run their nations properly. For their sake and ours, we need to abolish their governments and replace them with a single government. This will take a long time and involve much bloodshed, but it's for a good cause. Here's what we'll need to do. Place our agents and helpers everywhere. Take control of the media and use it in propaganda for our plans. Start fights between different races, classes, and religions. Use bribery, threats, and blackmail to get our way. Use free Masonic lodges to attract potential public officials. Appeal to successful people's egos. Appoint puppet leaders who can be controlled by blackmail. Replace royal rule with socialist rule, then communism, then despotism. Abolish all rights and freedoms except the right by force by us. Sacrifice people, including Jews sometimes, when necessary. Eliminate religion. Replace it with science and materialism. Control the education system to spread deception and destroy intellect. Rewrite history to our benefit. Create entertaining distractions. Corrupt minds with filth and perversion. Encourage people to spy on one another. Keep the masses in poverty and perpetual labor. Take possession of all true wealth, property, and especially gold. Use gold to manipulate the markets, causing depressions, etc. Introduce a progressive tax on wealth. Replace sound investment with speculation. Make long-term interest-bearing loans to governments. Give bad advice to governments and everyone else. Eventually, the Goyim will be so angry with their governments, because we'll blame them for the resulting mess, that they'll gladly have us take over. We will then appoint a descendant of David to be the king of the world, and the remaining Goyim will bow down and sing his praises. Everyone.
All right, that's
So he's pretty much just reading off that list that
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
read earlier.
yeah.
They're schizo, a little bit.
So I mean, I guess where do you go from here? Were you learning about the Jewish control before you started learning about what Hitler was talking about in his speeches, or was it vice versa?
No. For sure, Jew first, right? Because I still had in my head, the Holocaust, right? Or the Zendel experiments, etc. All these Wendell, the Nazi scientists that was like sewing people together and shit like that, right? So you have all this like propaganda from the other side for a long time, and so the Holocaust was kind of a hard one because like, well, how the hell would I have, even when I was thinking about before getting into it, I was like, well, that would be a problem if they were just like taking men, women, and children and like executing them, 6 million of them, right? That'd be a little crazy. So once I kind of got into like, okay, well, they are in charge of the media, right? I mean, I don't know if you guys are familiar with HT or GTV flyers. The flyers.
No.
Have you ever seen the flyers that say like every aspect of XYZ thing is Jewish?
No.
Really? Okay.
Nuh-uh.
Let me pull.
You're
something up here.
talking to a virgin audience today.
Really, man?
Uncensored,
Okay.
So be gentle.
Listen, yeah.
No, be rough. Go in fast.
What we
Go in
call
hard.
You whisper sweetly in our ears as you tell us how we're getting fucked.
No, yeah, it'll be all right.
Just spit on it and call me pretty. I don't need you to
Just spit.
hold my hand.
Hell yeah! All right. Okay, so let me see if I can. Zoom in.
And while you're looking for that, I just let everyone know if you do want to call in. We did paste the link in the comments there. Unless you're on X, then you'll have to
go to YouTube.
Go to YouTube.
Here,
and
I'm
copy
going
and paste
to...
it. Unless you have people, unless you want to share the link too.
I dropped that link there in the sidebar. If you're able to pull that up, that way I don't have to. I'm always worried what it'll pull up first or something, and I don't want my name or some shit. Who knows?
Let's see here.
So like these types of flyers, you'll see what I mean. I'm sure. Well, I don't know. You say you're.
No, we're very new to this, so
okay.
Yeah. Oh, I have seen these flyers float around. Here, let me show everyone. Share screen. Give me a sec. These are called GTV flyers, Goyim TV. Now, Goyim, for people who don't know, Goyim is what is a Goyim?
The non-Jew.
The non-Jew, is that the Amaret, the dirt beneath their feet? It's like a derogatory term, isn't it?
It is. It comes from the Gentile. Comes from nations, right? So and Goy are it really just means nations, but what it really means is everyone but Jews, right? So they have the Jews, right? They'll say themselves, and the Goyim, right? So that is what Goyim TV. So it's
Harry Cohn.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, let's go over some of this because I've always seen these, but I've never just like zoomed in on them. So you're here with Fantom Facts. We'll do a little bit of this right now. So we're going over Sony, Paramount, Fox, Comcast, Warner Brothers, and Walt Disney. Now, Bob Iger is no longer the CEO, I don't think, of Disney.
No, he may not be. Let me see who the CEO is.
David Zaslav.
Oh no, didn't they actually put Bob Iger back in? Isn't that right?
They did put him back in, but then I thought he stepped down, or maybe not yet. Maybe he's just steady in the storm. Tom Rothman. Okay, so then you've got 6 Jewish corporations own 96% of the media. Now these are the owners of Sony, Paramount, Fox, Comcast, Warner Brothers, and Disney Company. All right, yeah, that's one of these flyers. I mean, you got a whole list here.
Oh shit!
This one blew my mind. I had never known
You've seen this one.
Every single aspect of the slave trade was Jewish.
Yeah, so you can even go and find like old newspapers, right, from towns in the South when the slave. Oh, there are some on there. Okay, yeah, where the slave trade is closed on the Sabbath. Why is that? Why, when they're less than 1% of the population, are all the slave trades closed on the Sabbath? That makes no sense.
You would think that'd be the one day you'd want the slave. You want everyone.
Yeah,
they
do. Yeah, they'll have their slaves, right? Yeah,
they
can't sell them.
They
could maybe have the slaves sell the other slaves, right?
Little dark slavery humor for you folks here at 10 o'clock at night.
No, listen, have you guys ever come across? So HT, the guy that owns GTV, he is the one. So you guys say you're virgin, but he's gone extremely viral a lot for being way out there. He'll do some crazy stuff. He's like one of the guys that goes and they fly swastika flags, and shit, and go to do all the rallies and all that type of stuff.
Now,
but
are these the same people that go on the bridges?
Okay. Yes. The guy with the beard and the sunglasses always.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's
the same group that was in Tennessee not too long ago.
In Ohio.
Yeah.
Where the black people got mad afterwards.
Yes.
And okay. So no, that's a different group. HT knows some of them, but no, different. Not HT, and they're not like I don't know what to call it. Goyim TV and GTV is like his thing. I don't know too much about what he does outside of that. I mean, he's in the space a lot. He's cool. I mean, he's a cool dude. It would be quite shocking for you to get him on here. It would be something else for people to see.
Well, I mean, love to have him on the previously #1 live show on X. Getting crushed by country music right now, but not for long. I'm sure our content has nothing to do with the suppression. This one, every single aspect of Disney child grooming is Jewish. Now, you said this to us 4 weeks ago. I'm like, why are we blaming the Jews for child grooming? It just sort of seemed. But after studying what they did at that Frankfurt University there, the Institute, I mean, there had been people that, dressed up as women, recorded as far back as, mankind. But but the first like surgeries that were performed were by these, that were ever recorded.
Agnes Hirschfeld.
Yes, and that all transferred to America. All those sick fucks transferred to America. And like for me, and you can clarify if you're talking differently, but for me, when I'm talking about Jews, I'm not talking about people who are of Jewish faith or, like I'm talking about people who are using position of power to create chaos because that's what their faith demands of them. Those are, you understand what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
I'm not saying like,
for sure I do.
David and Janice down the hall.
Okay, yeah, that I'm with you there. It's to an extent, but I am with you.
He
there.
already told you, Corey, that Jews are not
it,
on the list of in the circle.
No, it would depend. I mean, I will
him.
say we do have Simon Dixon, right? Simon Dixon's a big Bitcoin guy, and he comes in on Saturdays every now and then, and we're cool with him. And he is Jewish. He is a Muslim revert, but he is Jewish, blood-wise. So, and we're cool, and he's a cool dude, but the main thing is that he fights against them big time. He's super into, like, there is Jewish supremacy, Israel's bad, there's a history of Jews being overrepresented in at least banking and being a huge problem in it. So there are all those things. But that's kind of where I, yes, the Jewish lady down the street, right, the Jewish woman in the supermarket, not a problem, right? I'm not going to be like, fuck you, get out of here. But I'm not gonna be like, get her. Yeah,
yeah, and I mean, I think
we're not doing that.
It's the dogs.
Shit. Okay.
You know what? This is they have had like 90. Well, how long have they had Israel? 60, 40, 60 years?
Well, yeah, it was 48. So I mean, that would be 80 years.
80
4 years.
Okay.
So 76 or something.
I'm telling you, all this could have been fixed. Like I said in our last episode, if we would just gotten a time capsule and just killed these old crusty fucks that came over here and started this shit back, this whole thing, that last episode we did with the, just they were just so miserable and they wanted to just ruin America. It's like, man, everyone wants to save Abraham Lincoln or JFK, but why not go and just take out these human beings?
I would have just told Hitler all about the atomic bomb.
This is
the problem, right? That I would get to of what you were just saying, right?
We gotta pause here because there is a mention of Molech, and this show requires, if Molech is ever brought up, that we have to play this clip. But we have covered this for a long time, so. Molech News, everybody.
Yeah. Hey, everyone, you can sing along too. It's Molech News, Molech News. He's out there to eat kids and Jews. It's Molech. Molech News.
Molech News, everybody. So these are all scriptures from the Talmud. Yebamith 98. All non-Jew children are animals.
So, all right. So there is
like a chihuahua, or what are we talking about?
Well, this is my issue. What these do, and we have a very long X space on my Rumble somewhere, where the Goy Father, one of the guys that hosts a weekly show called Talmud Talk, and so on Thursdays we do Talmud Talk, and he's gone over this list exactly. The problem is, and so starting off, none of it's wrong. None of this is incorrect. It is all correct. The issue is that they will go and like these are very, very shorthanded rewordings, right? So then they'll go and they'll say, well, this isn't true. Right, like no, it doesn't say all non-Jew children are animals. Well, what it does say is the seed of a goyim is like that of a donkey, right? So the children of the goy are like that of a donkey. Sure, it doesn't say all non-Jewish children are animals, but yes, that is what it is saying. But all of them are something along the lines of that because these Jews are just overwhelmingly like long-winded in their writing, so they'll take a year and a half to get to something they could have said much simpler.
I went to the load.
Yeah, they're kvetching. Yeah.
And after I sat there for 3 weeks. Yeah, no, I feel you there. Yeah, we'll go a few of these. Jews must destroy books of the Christians, i.e., the New Testament. A man who engaged in intercourse with a girl less than 3 years of age has done nothing.
What it actually says is it's like poking her in the eye, right? So it's
Oh.
yeah, he's hurting her, but yeah, it's no big deal.
Poke her.
You can't get her pregnant. Who cares, right? You can do it. So that's the mentality behind that.
Zohar 1160a, Jews must always try to deceive Christians. The sneaky. The souls of not, well, you know, I mean, Jews must always try to deceive Christians, and then you wonder why we see in these news media outlets, you know, all controlled at the top, trickled down throughout the substructure of entertainment. And you know, everyone's aware of it now. I feel like the minority of the population is the people who aren't aware of this, but not
at least haven't been exposed, right? I mean,
they know they're
everyone
being
has
lied
seen
to.
it.
Yeah,
oh yeah, with you there.
They know they're being lied to, but they don't understand to the extent. You know, I think most of it stops with, oh, it's money. It's always just money, you know, and I think there's definitely something deeper, you know, spiritually and physically tied to this. And you read some of this stuff, you know, and these ones, if a non-Jew hits a Jew, he must be killed. When a Jew murders a non-Jew, there will be no death penalty. Jesus is in hell being boiled in hot excrement, which has got to be great for his skin.
Yep.
Jews may use lies, subterfuges to circumvent the non-Jews. When a Jew steals from a non-Jew, he may keep it. It is just this sort of idea that you are a lesser being.
That's what I'm gathering here. I'm just a big pile of dog shit.
And like you look into even, you know, into the New Testament and Jesus first identifying himself as the Messiah to a Samaritan woman. And not only were women looked extremely down upon, but then the fact she was a Samaritan, or essentially a half breed, you know, a crossbreed, half Jew, half Syrian, half Assyrian, you know, you know, it was so disdained upon that they were shocked that there was even conversation being made, much less that he was allowing her to serve him. You know, like that mentality has stayed true for thousands of years, even without them having a homeland. And now, you know, you saw when they created Mossad, the lengths they went to change narrative, you know.
No, I mean, for sure. I was looking for a video by Ian Malcolm where there's a guy that goes over this exact little thing here. But they do. I mean, it's got to be through trickery, through, you know, deception, because they don't have, you know, a global military. Right. I mean, that's why to kind of go back to what we were talking about at the very beginning here. I mean, that's why they have to do things. They can't beat America in a war. What? All their stuff comes from us. What they don't have a military. They have our military that they have. It's over there. It's just ours, but it's over there. So they have to do something like, oh, let's just have this billionaire financier have all these parties. His, you know, handler or himself, I don't know. You know, there's this back and forth. The main back and forth that I have, you know, or see is Epstein himself a Mossad agent? Almost certainly, but at the very least, Ghislaine is. Ghislaine's dad was. He also owned McGraw-Hill textbooks, right, which published like 60% or 70% of all the textbooks in America forever. So you have a literal Mossad agent owning the textbooks in America, right? His daughter then later happens to be, like, just what are the chances of this? His daughter later happens to be in league with this man who is getting all these politicians, movie stars, all these other things to come to his island. He has a weird little black book for them, and for whatever reason, all these people, all these high people of power have been going to this island. There's all these weird ties to Israel. And the one thing that Democrats and Republicans and libertarians and everybody, except for like Thomas Massley and a handful of people, and some of them I hate, like the Bernie Sanders and shit, even though he is Jewish, like they're like Israel's doing things, whatever. Like fuck you, shut up. I don't want your help. So all this weird interlocking, and she just happens to be tied to this guy, and it's just absurd. And then when you have things like Blinken, Blinken's uncle, Colin's calling me there. Blinken's uncle was the lawyer for either not Epstein, it was for Ghislaine's dad. What is his damn name? Robert Maxwell. I'm trying to find this name to send you here.
Right.
So you have all these just ties to this one country. They have this weird history of doing this cryptic nonsense, right? They've been kicked out of 109 countries 1,034 times. They themselves say, like, you can find rabbis saying that we've been kicked out of every country we've ever lived in. It's like, well, at what point, like, when is it not like everyone else's fault? Like, everyone's wrong. Everybody but you, buddy, is wrong. And it's just, it's one of these things that it's the overwhelming amounts of different random evidence. So I don't know exactly where we had started there.
I was just going to let you breathe there for a minute, because it was
no.
It's true. Like it's let me see if I pull this list back up. We talked about this a little bit in the last episode, and it just sort of blew my mind. Because when we said Jews in the porn industry, I thought, maybe just, financing some of it. But the head of Pornhub, I forget what his name was, the rabbi, the head of Pornhub, there's video of him that we played. I was looking for it while you were talking.
I think it's Solomon Friedman.
Yes, yeah. Okay. I think that's right. Or David Friedman. I don't know. One of them. Something like that. Anyway, he's talking about how to get people off for sex predator charges. That's like that's his day job. I mean, these people are not innocently reaping the rewards of degenerate culture. They're purposely pushing degeneracy. And there, is there a difference, would you say?
So what is the difference you're looking for? Between pushing culture and
just accepting? I mean, there's always going to be degeneracy in every civilization, right? Like, I mean, there's always going to be drugs.
But in 100 years, though, when you go from us having like laws and for television where like you can't have, like, early on they wouldn't allow couples that were unmarried to be even seen sleeping in the same bed on TV, right? I mean, that's very early. Yes. But and in 80 years we go all the way to like regular TV, just on TV a kid can open and turn on at home on HBO. You can absolutely go in there and see some tits and ass, like, just right out the bat, sex scenes in every movie. I mean, I definitely think it gets to the point that it's like, no, it's not just that. And also, even if it is also that, I guess it's really both, because we have just been accepting, right? And this kind of comes to where I think where we may have some disagreement. I don't know how Americanism, right, and such you guys are, I'm sure, a little bit, but I don't believe too terribly much in like democracy. I do like America, right? I like American culture.
I'm America boy.
Yeah, but I don't like the government. I don't like the way the government works, and I think it's apparent that it needs a reworking. So, I mean, I'm a national socialist. Socialist is not socialism like the faggots. It's socialism. Sorry, I don't know if I should be saying that.
No, that's the trending word of last week. So
okay, all right.
I appreciate you trying to boost our levels.
No, all right, good deal. So, what was I just saying there? Totally lost my train of thought when I said sorry. How did that just blank out?
No, it's fine. You were talking though about your national socialist.
Oh, national socialist, right? So,
socialist, like,
it's not gay, right? It's not these like welfare state bullshit. So I think America needs to move to that, and the reason being is that people generally aren't trustworthy to make decisions on a grand scale, right? Like, mob mentality is the thing. Also, just most people are going to work and coming home. Now later, if we were working to where, you know, if it wasn't that we all had to have, you know, 9 to 5s and everyone had to work and no one had time and could all get involved in politics and really look into it, etc., like maybe the conversation would be different. But at the moment, it's not like that. And so I don't trust the average person to make, you know, key political decisions, right? I think that's where some of the main problems come in, and especially if they aren't even making proper moral ones and voting accordingly, right? Like allowing these things to be on TV, like we're saying here. If we can't even get the culture to reject that, the people as a whole to reject that, I don't think that they should all be making these decisions. And you see things like this, you know, in Rome, etc. When things got really bad in Rome, they would have the dictator, right? They would have someone that comes in, and that's how it is for a minute. For a minute, we all got to cool the fuck down. It's like clicking the mute button in a Twitter space, right? It's like, all right, everyone shut up. For a second, this is what we're doing. We can talk about it later, but right now we have to do something. And so I think at the moment, we need something along those lines that would solve the moral degeneracy. We saw that this is exactly, I mean, to tie it back into Hitler, this is exactly what Hitler did. He came in, they were in Weimar, they had, like you were talking about with Magnus Hirschfeld and gay culture, and like what books were they burning? They were burning books from the Sexual Institute of Berlin. Like that's what they were burning, and Frankfurt, and etc. So someone, we have to come in and clean that type of shit out, and that requires, no, we're not having democracy. It doesn't matter.
No, we're not a democracy.
Well, we're not having a republic, right? I mean, Hitler got, I was reading something there. Hitler got voted in. Yeah, he used his own word, and he has a quote where he says, "I used democracy to defeat democracy," which shows that democracy in and of itself doesn't work. And now I know we're not a democracy, but a republic is a democratic form of government, right? If you can use that in the same manner, like propaganda is an example in and of itself. You can mold the minds of people with disinformation. Therefore, I don't think the people should have a choice. I think it should be people that are, you know, highly educated on these topics. But the difference is I want a government that is of the people, right? This small group of people need to be the most patriotic, the most about their people, because then they will make good decisions. People that you can trust making good decisions isn't a problem, but it's hard to find people you trust. So that would mean a smaller government set in the hands of a smaller amount of people. So, but they have a lot more authority, right? So I think we need something like that, because we got to clean up the degeneracy, etc. And I do think you're right. I do think it's both, right? It's that Jews are pushing in all this, you know, bullshit and just horrible, degenerate filth, you know, as well as like debt, slavery, and, you know, all these other aspects, the health system, right? I mean, with COVID and the vax, etc., all these other things, all this stuff, you know, owned by the same people, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, all owned by Jews. All these people, right, are gonna abuse the system they can abuse. So you have to create a system they can't abuse, and that's something like National Socialism that just says, no, it's about the people, it's about this culture. We don't want anything to do with yours. We're not gonna degenerate because we have a culture that we are sticking to, not like a, you know, the people mold themselves to where they're at, which is what we ask of immigrants, but we need to force that on ourselves. We can't allow our culture to drift over time, and that's what's happened. So you have to enforce that.
I don't know what your time limit was, but do you mind if I play a couple clips? I mean, we usually record a couple hours, so, but you can hop off anytime you want to, man. So I know
I'll probably dip out here in about 20 minutes, something like that.
I just wanted to re-emphasize to people, like, this is, you know, the issue to me, and I understand what you're saying about people, but I also, first of all, with bringing in a dictator for a year as Roman law allowed, it did backfire in the end. So, and the dictator just stayed dictator until he was murdered. And then there was a bunch of other dictators, which is just, I mean, to me, that's human nature. And the beauty of the basis of how America was built. And sure, it's been bastardized. I will agree with you on that. I feel like the system has slowly over time been bastardized purposefully. And as we're finding out very directly. And when people say, well, there's no way that there's someone who's a proud American that is also going to do evil to America just because they're not, their heritage is Jewish. And for those people, I want to play this clip on dual loyalty.
The State Department definition claims that stating that a particular Jewish person has more loyalty to the state of Israel than they do to their own country is necessarily an example of anti-Semitism.
Now, that is law. That is law now to make that statement, to say that someone having dual citizenship could possibly not have our best interests at heart. That is official law. That is anti-Semitism, people, to say that. To even question this narrative. I'm going to go on here.
Where the truth is that that's one of the fundamental premises of Zionism. And if you go back and look at the statement, say, of Theodor Herzl, who's wrote really what's considered the founding text of Zionism, he argued very clearly that Jews are one people, and therefore it's useless for them to be patriots to the countries in which they reside.
I mean, it's and then, I mean, that's not just talking about Jews. That's talking about people that are Zionists. It's like Pete Hegseth.
Christian Zionist. I'm not really sure why that is a bad thing. I'm a Christian. I'm a Zionist. Zionism is that the Jewish people deserve a homeland in the ancient Holy Land where they've lived since the dawn of history. Do you consider yourself a Christian Zionist?
Senator, I'm a Christian, and I robustly support the state of Israel and its existential defense, and the way America comes alongside them is a great ally.
Thank you. Because another protest.
Yeah, bro, we're cooked. I'm telling you. I think you're muted. Are you muted?
I am muted. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Do you think that there is a slow recognition happening of what's going on through the, you're doing this work and translating speeches, and not translating them, but, putting them to audio and video so people can, lazily take in this, in this stuff. Have you seen, what is the reaction you've seen, I guess?
I mean, so my experience on Twitter's been pretty good. I mean, I've been banned multiple times, but I mean, I just got my original account that I started doing on it back like a week ago, and it got banned in like June. So it was a full 6-month ban, or maybe July, whatever it was, over summer some point. So I had a 6-month ban on that. Had another one. It got banned in like November. So it is still about playing the Twitter game, right? So that's a lot of it. There's a lot of people that make really good content, but have no idea how to use the algorithm. So they're screwed. They're going to be talking to the void forever.
It's Fantom Facts Society, but we appreciate you. We appreciate you coming into the void for a minute to talk about this with us, because for the solid group we have, I'm fascinated by this because it's very verboten. And I was raised a Jehovah's Witness, right? And so they were targeted among the rise of Hitler, because they wouldn't be involved in any military activity, and they wouldn't do the Heil Hitler salute. Those were the two major factors. And looking back, I understand like the organization itself was operating as a Western front for America, but there were people that believed in it, and they were thrown, they weren't doing anything other than holding to their belief system, and they were thrown into Dachau, and they had people that died from it. And now the narrative of 6 million Jews dying, I can get behind the disagreement with that. And there's been some interesting evidence pushed forward about how it was documented before this big propaganda push. Nonetheless, like, it wasn't like those things didn't exist either, because I talked to some of these people that were, in my church when I was growing up. And so I had always brushed it off, that anyone that had these type of ideas were just sort of weird, you know, SS people that just, you know, it didn't make sense to me, you know, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And now that I've started to dive into this, it's, I mean, it seems very well orchestrated and diabolical.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. What's diabolical? What was the
Well,
subject there?
I mean, the taking over of media
Oh,
and
okay. Yeah.
not
Okay,
just
cool.
yeah, not just media, but like, you know, the the underbelly of media, the porn industry. You know, the porn industry decided so much infrastructure through the late 90s and into the 2000s, and I mean, it makes sense because they were the bankers behind it.
Yeah. I mean, and I get it. I mean, I do get it, right? Look, I mean, I'm not going to act like it wasn't wartime and in a concentration camp, right? I mean, my whole argument is that there were no extermination camps, right? There was no extermination, right? It wasn't I mean, they had wet nurses and plenty of births at Auschwitz, right? I mean, I'm sorry, but you're not trying to exterminate. The amount of time they'd have to spend exterminating people, right? To fill these types of numbers. And you got to remember, I mean, originally the number for Auschwitz was 4 million. I mean, that's what they initially thought. And then even now they were like, oh, that's for sure wrong. So now, like the plaque up until 91 said 4 point something million, and now it says 1.1 or something. So they dropped 3 million, but that would never be like, you know, talked about, right? They're not going to talk about that. They're going to just keep sending politicians and everybody there anytime they say a no, or Elon, make him go over there, go to Auschwitz, go kiss the wall, hump the wall, whatever they do over there. And but yeah, but it was. I mean, there were definitely concentration camps. There were for sure horrible things that happen in POW camps. That is not to be denied. But that's everybody, right? We did the same shit to Japan. The English did the exact same shit to the Indians. Sorry, but like it does. The French did it to the Haitians, and then the Haitians killed them all.
And Russians did it to their own soldiers. I mean,
the more people died in the Holodomor than, you know, I mean, if the highest numbers for what the communists wound up starving and killing throughout that whole time period is right, it's more than World War I and World War II. So, you know, if that 100 million, I think it's probably more like 60 though. But if, you know, either way, you know, we're talking about a 85% Jewish government taking over in Russia, exterminating literally. That's the difference between an extermination camp. And you see the Allies in Europe did the exact same thing to the Germans post-war, to a lot of the German soldiers, millions. They would put them in these big fenced-off little, you know, towns, right? And then they just wouldn't import food, and they would just starve in a couple weeks. And you don't got to do anything. There's no work. That's how extermination camps work. They're not going to waste bullets. They're going to just fence you in an area, shoot anyone that runs out, and then you're going to starve to death. And that's what the Russians did. I mean, that's how you do it. You don't put them in camps, keep them occupied, make them build for you, make them do, you know, manufacturing, have a birth rate, have soccer team, right? I mean, there's plenty of other things, right? Like they have plenty of things going on in some of these camps, and yeah, they don't. It's the mass extermination is the problem I have. I mean, the number I don't care. I mean, if it's 800,000, a million. I mean, the Red Cross thought it was 270, right? Thousand.
Here's the thing, like, you know, war is ugly, and I think Ukraine is a nice reminder of how just disgusting warfare is, and not just the end result, but what it does to people who come back, you know, and how it affects generations afterwards. It's not just like the war is done and it's all over and hunky dory. This is long-term effects, and if we're going to have wars, we need to be transparent as to what's causing it. And if we're being manipulated, that needs to be exposed. And, you know, we played that clip of JFK, you know, talking about secret societies. And we'd always thought, you know, like Masons or Skull and Bones. But man, you know, you wonder if he wasn't talking about APAC.
Well, I mean, so let me look. I have the little thing here somewhere. But I mean, what Kennedy did push against, it wasn't AIPAC at the time. At the time, it was the American Zionists, AZL, American Zionist, AZO. It was the American Zionist something. Maybe the AZL, the American Zionist Lobby. But and he was going against that. He absolutely was. So I mean, there's plenty, and he was wanting to look into the uranium scandal, right? So there's plenty of,
Yep.
you know, JFK getting. I mean, I'm quite certain that Mossad had something to do with JFK, and he didn't like the Federal Reserve. Everyone that doesn't like the Federal Reserve, you're going to get killed or lose power, or they're going to come out with you messaging a minor or some shit, or put porn on your computer or some shit, right? I mean, you're not going to get away with it, right? That's why it's not happening. I would love to see Trump try. I mean, look, my opinion on Trump could drastically change with if he did try to actually dismantle the Fed and start moving in on it. I mean, if that actually happened, my opinion could change, because that is, I mean, that I can't sit here and say that's a major stronghold of influence and power over the country and then not be, and I'm gung ho about a lot of things Trump's done recently, right? I mean, as long as they follow through and really, I mean, every illegal that gets out, good, everyone, positive thing. And, releasing the J6ers, that's a positive thing. But then, allowing Israel to have Moabs and sending them, 1,800, 2,000 pound bombs and giving them $8 billion more and putting in a complete foreign aid ban, except for on Israel and Ukraine. Zelensky's also Jewish.
Yes. Yeah. And so is Javier Milei.
Yeah, exactly. Right?
Yeah.
And he's running around with Elon. There's a hilarious picture when Elon made that, when he went down there and was like really hanging out with Milei and like, I don't know, what was that, summer maybe, or late summer, when he was down there being around him, I guess, maybe before their elections or something. Maybe it was even before that. But you can see Elon reaching across and he's shaking his hand. And there's just the back of some guy's head behind him, and he's got his damn kippah on and the little Jew hat, and it's just hilarious because it's like, there he is, like, there's the guy, right? Like, it's that one. That's the one that set this up or is in charge of this or something.
Well, and I mean, we were having this debate Friday night. Are we watching? We're seeing the switch of the old guard in our political spectrum in American politics, where the old are being ousted out, the new is being trotted out and tried out for the Democrat Party, and as the power is being exchanged, as sloppy as it is. And are we seeing the same thing in Jewish politics? Are we seeing the young Jewish generation transitioning, like Javier Milei or so on, Kushner, and so on and so forth?
I mean, you could say the one that's for sure getting more involved that is Soros' son, Alexander. He's for sure getting more involved in stuff. And yeah, I mean, Kushner and them and that. But I don't know. I don't know how long it'll be for them, and it doesn't really matter for them because all they are taking the handles on a well-oiled, phenomenal machine, right? I mean, they're being given everything they need to control the planet, so it doesn't really matter. They almost can't fuck it up. And now with AI, it seems like it'll get to where they really can't, right? They're going to automate the hell out of the world.
Well, I know you gotta go here pretty soon, but I do want to ask you, like, this is the first time I've talked to someone who's a National Socialist. So I'm just sort of curious, like, what is the strategy of the of being a National Socialist? Like, obviously, walking around with swastikas, like, isn't a long-term solution to getting these ideas across. Like, there has to be, what would you like to see? Or what have you seen be most effective?
Well, I had to walk over here. So what I think is most effective, and I want people, I mean, I'm not going to counter signal. So as long as they're doing what they think they should be doing, go ahead and do it. But, there's plenty of people like going up on the bridge, holding the Swazis, all that. But I don't think that we're there, right? Like I said earlier, I think we're in the, information exchange point. So that's what I think we need to do. Something like what I'm doing, or the spaces, or, people like, Ian Malcolm, Truth Teller. And now, like, this different aspect the past year has really been hitting where, you have people like Dan Bilzerian, these huge followings. I mean, Dan was at one point had like one of the most followed accounts on Instagram. and you know, Candace Owens and the whole falling out aspect of her with Daily Wire, and Tucker Carlson kind of waltzing on the World War II stuff a little bit. He had a Daryl Cooper on there, and he really like pushed on, you know, Churchill is a bad guy, right?
Yes,
And,
yeah,
you
I
know,
saw that. And,
so
oh man, he bristled up at that. Oh,
yeah, I
did not
mean,
like it one bit. And I thought, man, great. I mean, any logical person that doesn't know any of the undertones of what we're talking about or what Piers Morgan's talking about, and you're just talking about the results here in 2025. When you look around and then you see videos of people in Qatar, even Jordan, and you think, what the hell happened here? You know,
yeah.
what the hell happened here? And it's hard to believe that it's all some a mass accident, that somehow there can be thousands of homeless people in Denver, in Colorado Springs, and then all of a sudden 2 years later, the same thing popping up in populations where that, I mean, it had never happened.
I mean, yeah, and I mean, I think the you know, there's the clergy plan, right? Which is the, I don't know how race pilled you guys are, but you know, I'm not like racist, right? I don't hate other races. I just don't want white people to go extinct. So like that's where I plant my foot. If that means at some point I got to go to battle with another race or something, so be it. But like, I don't hate them. I just want them like the fuck out of our countries, mostly for a little bit, right? Because we are going to go extinct otherwise. But there's like the clergy plan, right? And that's where you have, you know, as our immigration has gotten more, as was the right way to say would be, as demographics have changed from more white people to less white people, the crime rate has substantially increased, right? So there's this conversation, you know, like the Democrats will say about guns, right? And they're like, well, you know, guns are a problem. Look at all these mass shootings. Look at how many gun deaths there are a year in our country compared to other countries in Europe, etc. And you know, the common reply is that, yeah, well, that has to do with the decline of mental health and you know, medicine and all these other things, and it's making people crazy, etc. And fluoride in the water or whatever. And while those may be factors, the real issue is that if you take out the Hispanic and Black gun crime, we're like number 2 in the world. Right, that's like 93% of all gun violence is the Hispanics and Blacks, and that's across the board with basically all crime.
Would
Except
you
for, you know,
say though
white collar
that
crime.
it has been because my belief is that this has been a psyop mission from the 45. It's not my belief. I have proof that this has been psyoped to the extent you know, we could argue that, but the fact that they wanted to purposefully keep minorities dumb and incoherent, um, and then once that was finally broken through, you saw the race baiting. I would say if you look at the stats after Occupy Wall Street in the media, you saw race baiting take on a level we'd never seen, and that tied in with the removal of the Smith-Mundt Act, or not the removal, the revision, which was essentially the removal of the original. Um, uh, would I and I guess I just differ with you on this, and that's okay because that's what the show is, to differing opinions. But I would say, like, I would feel more comfortable just trying it without any propaganda to the public, and see how America melts together. You know, we're not forcing in millions of people a month. We're not propagating one race to hate the other, and we just let people develop their own communities. And naturally, we saw this in the early 60s. People, you know, there was people that chose to integrate. There's people that chose to segregate. There was no, I mean, I have a real problem saying that the color of someone's skin is the issue here. I think
Well, I
that's
mean,
just
I'm not. No, I get what you're saying. And I'm quite certain we will just have a difference here, but that's fine. I've talked all day to people that I don't agree with. We're totally no worries. But it isn't the color of skin, right? It's not that, right? Like that is a,
Well, let me just play this clip because this is Malcolm X talking about it.
Here the no. I like Malcolm. I shared that earlier today.
I know, and I love this because I think it sort of epitomizes your stance on what
But
you're
Malcolm
saying.
X also wanted most black people to go back to Africa.
Yes. Well, and that's essentially what he's saying.
Which is why
here.
I like him. Like I want that. I think that is better. I don't hate things like tourism and travel, vacation, and trading and all these things, right? All that's fine. But I don't want the culture mixing. That's not what I want. And I think that is a problem. And it's not skin color, right? What the problem is IQ. That's the problem. And that's not a hate thing. That's just a reality thing.
Well, that's on. I mean, that's on not us, but that's on the generations before us. I feel purposely stunting that growth, and I feel that is a responsibility as Americans now that we have to own up to that and fix that, not just ship it away.
Well, what about? We've done. So let me put it this way, right? We have done that. We have helped it quite a bit. So if you
we destroyed the whole family structure of the black community.
No, but I'm talking about IQ, right? The overall general African American IQ is one standard deviation over what the average African IQ, and that is because European admixture, right? So there's been a general admixture into African American community in America, but the African community in Africa hasn't had that, right? So like the average IQ in Africa is like 65 or something like that, 67, 69, and that's including the white areas like in South Africa. And the Arab areas. That's just a continent. So there are these differences, and my whole thing is just that I think that these cause for very, very specific differences in culture that are in individual cases absolutely able to mix. And I'm okay with people doing that, right? I think there should be places for that in the world where they can do that. But I think when overall on a large scale it mixes, I think that it just has had and has bad results like we've seen in Europe, especially in the past couple of years, as well as in America for a couple decades.
Well, and I would agree with the forcing it down a nation's throat hasn't worked at all. And it's by design. They know it wasn't going to work. They want to create discord so they can continue on with their
for
their
sure.
world
I mean, the
government.
protocols we even read earlier. I mean, it says they want to cause race war.
Yes, yeah.
So
and that's what I mean. Like if that's their goal, then.
But the problem is that all they have to do and what they did. Think about who owns all the NGOs that do these immigration things from Africa and from South America. It's all Jews. All they have to do to cause race war is put races together. The reality of nature is that creatures are tribal, right? In general, we're tribal, whatever that may mean, right? For ants, it's this colony of ants from this set of queens that have this DNA, right? And then they'll kill an entire other colony of ants that's like 99.9% the same genetics, right? And while we are much more complex, we still have that natural bond to each other. So there always will be a bit of a, arm's distance thing. And when you put that on a grand scale, you have problems. Now, individuals absolutely can work together and can, hang out and be friends. I have friends of all different races. I mean, I talk to people all the time in the space from different races. No hate, no hate.
That reminds me when people say that of when I was raised as Jehovah's Witness, and they would tell us, you can be friends with anyone, but you can't hang out with people that aren't Jehovah's Witnesses. And it was sort of like this unspoken rule of like, hang out to them at an arm's length because they're a little bit less than you. And so
no. It's not that though. See, that's the bad framing.
I'm not accusing you of that.
No. It's cool. It's cool.
Just my trigger, man. It's my triggers.
I don't want it. So sorry.
No, you're good.
Water.
No, take a drink of water. You're good. We can play this Malcolm X little clip here because I thought it was a great share here, and I'd never seen it before.
Don't like Farrakhan, so they call me Hitler. Well, that's a good name. Hitler was a very great man. He wasn't great for me as a black person, but he was a great German. And he rose Germany up from the ashes of her defeat by the united force of all of Europe and America after the First World War. Yet Hitler took Germany from the ashes and rose her up and made her the greatest fighting machine of the 20th century.
Yeah, you know, that's great. Totally. All for it. I want black people to also be, you know, pro-Hitler. That is a net positive. You know, overall.
You know, and
it's not hate though. That's the main thing though. It's just not hate. It is that I think nations work better when they're homogeneous. And I think that we can have a percentage, maybe that sweet spot somewhere between, you know, and this is for every country. This is for Africa too. But you don't see, you know, Jews flooding Africa with white people. There's a reason that it's not the other way around. They want a large population of Africans. They don't want a large population of Europeans. Jews and Europeans have been at it with each other forever. So, you know, and I don't think we're going to ship, you know, all the Africans back at all. Like, I don't remotely believe that that'll ever happen. I think balkanization is the reality, right? Like, white people just need to balkanize. The government needs to change. Finances need to improve. And we need to also improve our birth rate. It is also on us.
Well,
but
let me propose something else, because I feel that, you know, what you're asking for is a federal identity. And
well, the United States had one in 1790, and in 1794 they had the
but
Naturalization Act.
you're talking about, you know, 13 states at that time. You're not talking about a vast array of cultures that we've inherited over the, you know, the past 200 years.
Well, there were already black people there and Jews, but Jews weren't even allowed to vote in like some states until 1830s. So, I mean, rightfully so, for sure. That's the problem. We've screwed up somewhere in that time range there. But they also didn't, you know, put that to black people, though there were black people and free ones at that in America, right? And the naturalization is for European descent, right? Like, that's what they considered America. Like, if people want to do what this is the reality, is that people want to do what the founding fathers did. They have to be okay with slavery. I'm not, but I don't care what the founding fathers said. I do to an extent, but not really. I think that there's better governments. And you have to be okay with the Naturalization Act, because that's what they thought an American is. And one way or the other, they did found the country. And what that would have ideally meant is not that, well, things changed, right? And we you know, now we have all these other cultures. No, they would have said, no, don't change it, right? That's why we're putting this down, is that don't change it, right? And that's why a government, like I had said earlier, like National Socialism, that doesn't allow this, you know, overtime shift in what it wants to protect is the Volk, right? The people and the culture, right? It's not about, you know, any other types of things. They will keep the culture the same.
Who determines culture? I mean, that's sort of the scary spot here, because you can go from one extreme to another where, you know, are we going back to the culture of prohibition? You know, like, who, it's in the hands of who's ever in power. And we know power gets corrupted. Even there's been no such government that's been invented that has not succumbed to corruption. And
but the issue is, right, the counter to that though is that you know, America's been around, and, you know, general democracy in the modern sense has been around since the late 1700s, and basically all outside of some Greek, some Roman, some tribal stuff here and there, right? That had a little bit more of a people were in charge thing, where you're talking about like 200 people tops. You know, outside of those examples, for all of human history that's recorded, basically 10,000 years, you either have like a priest or a priest king or a king. You know what I mean? You have full, basically, and even if that, you know, is not necessarily, you have authoritarianism one way or the other, right? And you have empires that have outlasted America for, you know, fivefold. And so if I look at America taking, because I try not to look at it like, what do I care about, right? I try to look at like what historically has worked. And, it took America roughly, 250 years to be, and I say America's been screwed since the Federal Reserve. Like, I think that's when, all right, wheels are off, we're screwed. That's it. And so that takes 120 years, 110 years off of that now, right? So really you have America working well for 160 years, and then democracy, or, you know what I mean, the republic has fallen. That's what it took, through propaganda and manipulation of the masses and, some financial maneuvering. Yeah, that's how long it took. So to me, I look at something that is more authoritarian, and I say, sure, there are some trade-offs, but if one of those trade-offs is globalism is easily wiped off the board because you have an authoritarian country with a leader that wants to rule his people, his country, right? And then you're all right. And yeah, sure, there's wars and humans are sinful beings, right? I mean, we're not going to be perfect. My thing is about what, longevity-wise, what lasts. And I think it is something like an empire that is, well functioning. And we're in a modern world. I mean, I think a true empire or a dynasty, right? If Trump came out and he was like the best thing I could see in the morning is Trump coming out tomorrow and being like, all right, fuck it, I'm the king of America. We're bombing Israel tomorrow. Barron's next in line. I'm skipping the rest of them. He's 6'7", so we're just doing it. We're that's it. Yeah, we're sending it. If that's what happened, like, I would be like, hell yeah, I'm with it. I mean, he doesn't have to. I would even be with it if he wasn't bombing Israel. I don't know, but.
Just complete removal. Let them defend themselves. If they want to act like dicks, they can act like dicks on their own dime.
I bet their attitude changes towards the rest of the Middle East.
Yes.
I bet they'll be a little bit nicer.
Yeah, we sent 2 aircraft carriers out of the 8 we own to Israel. You know what I mean? Like during that initial phase in 2020, what was it? 2023?
I thought we had like 20. Do we not have like 20
aircraft? No, well. I thought
maybe outdated or decommissioned.
Well, I think there's a certain number always in what do they call that? Import being repaired, So
got you.
But I believe it's only 8 we have in the ocean, and we sent 2 of them, and I could be wrong. Grok, feel free to double check me, but I know for sure we sent 2 of them, which is a huge percentage of aircraft carriers to defend Israel while they committed genocide. That's what took place. And for me, hey, if you want to commit genocide, Israel, my belief is America can sit there and watch you commit genocide, and then once it's all figured out, we'll figure out who we're trading with. But you can, you guarantee that if they commit genocide on Gaza, Egypt, Iran, all these countries are going to put a stop to it pretty quick.
No, I mean, for sure. Yeah.
My problem, I guess, and I think we have a similar worldview. I just feel like America is what it is, and like to try to go back to the 1700s is unrealistic. Like, and to try, and that's
and that's why I don't think that we will actually kick these people out. Right, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that
it has to be a slow transition. I mean, if it's true, they have, and I've always said this about our politicians, is that they're just well-paid hostages. That's all they do is they go to work. Someone bitches about something, they go to their AIPAC guy. Their AIPAC guy says, "No, you're going to do the exact opposite, and you're going to have to spin it to make sense." And then they come out with a weird speech, and we're all like, "Wow, it doesn't make any sense." Well, it's because they're getting paid by Jewish lobbyists to not make sense, but they're being held hostage, essentially. I mean, that's how I view it. Because if they were to go against them, look at Massey.
No, I mean Well, yeah. I mean, I hate to, assume anything, but I mean, it is crazy. He started talking about it, and then his wife died like very shortly after it. No like news of her being sick that I know of or anything like that. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that, but that is like, maybe a hell of a coincidence. I'm sure if they didn't do it, they probably say God did it. Like either way. But
it's just not good. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is that good. I don't know. I do want to one thing I do think would be fun also. I think it'd be good for you guys because listen, I'm more of like a librarian type, right? Like I know some stuff. I can hold a conversation about all this. I mean, I'm more of a like I can recite a little bit of a Hitler speech or like, ooh, I can take you to where Hitler talked about this or something like that, right? But there's some people like Truth Teller and some of these other people that I would you guys need to one day we can figure out a time or something. You come to a space, play your audio through, and you guys chit chat with them.
Oh, we'd love
and
that.
a bunch
Yeah.
of other people because I mean, like Goy Father with the Talmud stuff, it would be because I'm not a debater or go in or I'll bitch a little bit and stuff, but I'm not about this. But these guys are freak shows.
Well, and
Absolute monsters.
I didn't want to give the impression like, you know.
No. I'm just saying I think it would be fun, especially because I would like it for content as well. Someone that's kind of new, right, to this and what it is like to, because what we generally say is like, you know, when Truth Teller, like, you know, JQs somebody, it's like doing it with a fire hose, right? Like he's just like putting it in there and pulling that damn lever back, right? And it's just like, here you go. It's like how Axl Rose used to do heroin or something. And it's, you know, it's I don't know. It's neat though, but I don't know. I think it'd be fun. You guys would have fun in there.
I was so close, Tyler Hargrove. I think they've got 2 or 3 at bay at all times. But
it has 11. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm saying that's a high percentage of your military force.
Either way, that's like 20% of them. Like, no, they have no business being there.
Yes, it's that was my initial reaction. It's just like, oh.
And like, why is it there anyways? Like, do we need 2 aircraft carriers to handle any of those countries right there? I'm sorry, but that's like a country buster. Like that thing goes in parks and whatever's next to it, that area is it, and that's just how it is.
Yeah, well, it was it was a crazy time the last few years, and it'd be nice. You know, I don't expect. I mean, especially with Bongino saying what he does, you know, and then it appears that the Epstein list doesn't exist. It belongs in the Mossad's hands.
Is that what I didn't watch that whole clip of him earlier.
I mean, it's what's implied, man, is like this stuff was not kept on Epstein Island. It was kept. I mean, we can play the clip again here. Let me see here. Pull it up. Give me one quick second. Dan Bongino. This is Ian Carroll's clip on it. Let me see if I can find just Bongino's take. This might be it here.
Ghislaine Maxwell case. We have an update on that from the Telegraph. Turns out, headline, evidence from Jeffrey Epstein's safe went missing after an FBI raid. Court hears in Ghislaine Maxwell trial.
All right, that's not it. But that's part of it. I mean, that disappears. Did it really disappear, or do they not have it to begin with?
I'm just betting they won't release it.
Let me see. This is the clip I was talking about here.
Green room at Fox, and I'm not going to say who because they didn't give me permission to share. It says, you know, Epstein's an intelligence asset for people in the Middle East, right? I'm like, no, I didn't know that. I'm like, you sure of that? The person, let's say, is like, I'm absolutely sure of that he's either a witting or unwitting asset, intelligence asset. Meaning
this part,
his plane and that island, the cameras, there's a big assumption out there that these videotapes were exclusively in the custody of Epstein. That's a huge mistake. The reason they wanted this story to go away is because there's an assumption like, oh yeah, Epstein had him. No, he wasn't the only one who had him, according to this source.
Oh, he says only one at least.
That's why this blackmail story makes so much sense.
Yeah.
But still, no, that's an early version of, oh, we don't have it. Like, that's what that is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's going to be deputy director. Isn't that true? Yeah, that's fucking insane, bro. Isn't he like the co-owner of Rumble or something?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. With Pavlowski? Is that his name? Chris?
I'm not sure who he's the co-owner. Is Rumble also owned by the Jews?
No, oddly enough. So we're buddies with like Stu Peters. And Stu knows Chris Pavlowski a good bit, who is like, I think he's the main owner. I think Bongino is like a partial or something. But there's a lot of people who are like, oh, he's Jewish basically just because he owns like a platform. seems to be at least the reasoning that
You're
I've seen.
telling me
Yeah.
that we can broadcast to a non-Jewish platform?
Oh, bro, exactly. I mean, I'm saying I have a 24/7 stream of the speeches, right? It just is a loop of all the speeches
really?
and plays 24 hours a day on Rumble, and I've had
Well,
no problems.
yeah, I'll have to check that out. We've been talking about it for the Talking Heads podcast, but I feel like Fantom Facts, just some of our content, obviously we're never going to get monetized, and that's why we live off of the value for value system. If people like what we do or they find any value in it, better value than going to a movie nowadays. Throw us a few bucks to the Cash App. We appreciate that, but it's just we hear over and over again, free speech is under assault. Free speech is under assault, and then you go, well, how about listening to one of Hitler's speeches? Well, and so I mean, I'm beyond thrilled, man, that you came on our show and just discussed your whole journey to how you got where you're at, and some good dialogue.
Yeah, man, it was fun chopping it up. I'd like listen, if you're on Twitter at all, and I, for a good amount of the day or something, hop in the space, bro. Come up there, come chill. We just chit chat all day long. I mean, we got a bunch of shows on there, but it's definitely the perfect. What we are trying to make it is like the. And we've had a couple people come up and be like, okay, listen, I came up, my buddy's sitting next to me, he said I should come in here and I don't believe it's the Jews, I'm pro-Israel, and whatever. And it'll be like, all right, we're gonna bat signal truth teller, and it's gonna be, we have just a bunch of clips of just that. So we're working on clipping also though, but it's that, which is, I'm sure as a content creator, it's like one of the hardest, going back and clipping shit you've already listened to twice and you were a part of, it's just not the best thing.
Yeah, I would suggest, go to my Spotify on Fantom Facts Society and listen to episode 10 through 100. And I would drop 6 hours of just audio editing. And then at one point I was like, all right, you know what? People are just going to have to deal with a few ums and knows from now on, because I can't do this anymore.
Oh yeah, man. No, it's horrible.
It's really
but yeah, I mean, it'd be fun for you guys to just.
No, we'd love. Yeah,
it'll get you in there.
Yeah,
and,
we'd love
we
to
can
hop on there and discuss this more. Yeah, well,
cool.
I don't know if you ever heard of a show called Coast to Coast AM, but
oh yeah,
that's sort of the idea. What we want for a late night streaming, we just want people to have a comfortable space to come in, talk about what they believe in, what they spent years researching, and hopefully we get to the point where we can have people call in and ask questions and get their own personal takes. But until that point, we love being able to just have these conversations, and we get a lot of positive feedback on that. So anything, and you're talking, go to X Spaces for anyone that's listening on JQ Radio 24/7, correct?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it is that exact thing, right? I mean, we call it a radio, right? I mean, it is, sure, it's a different interface and all that, but it's the exact same vibe. So it's fun. So I hope to see you guys there, and I had a great time, brother.
Yeah, man. Thank you again so much for coming on the show, Uncensored. We appreciate all the work you're doing, man. It's not going unnoticed. Everyone's getting a chance to be re-educated, and you're a piece of that puzzle. So thanks again. That's Uncensored Speech. You can follow him on X. You can also listen to their 24/7 stream, I guess, on Rumble too, but also listen to him on X Spaces, JQ Radio 24/7. So big shout out to Uncensored Speech for coming on the show. I mean, I think we need to take a little break. Maybe play some music. And I got some great clips for you once May gets back here. May, has to deal with, I think the quote given to me was retards. So, which is really a heartbreaker, because he would have been eating this up for sure. But let's take a little break, play a little music. We'll start it off strong with Glued My Balls from AI.
I got my balls to my butthole, yeah. What did I do? I can't take a dump, 'cause now my balls watching her man use a butter knife, face down, ass up, try and saw off his sack. Oh baby, fucking please just take me back. I grew my balls to my butthole, baby. Oh my God.
System of the company store, the paradigm of absolute control. And that's why we're just out here doing simple things, pointing out that we're meant to be in nature and be natural. And this is where we find the source that God made to transcend the New World Order. And that's why they want to try to keep us out of it.
I'm angry. I've had enough of these people. They're a bunch of Christian murderers scum. They're on giant death factories keeping babies alive and selling their body parts. What more do you need to know about these people? I go out and face these scum. They literally crawl out from under rocks. They have green looking skin and they run around screaming, we love Satan, we wanna eat babies. I have them on video. Hillary's in the creepy weird sick stuff, man. She sleeps in the same room with that creepy weirdo woman whose mother wears a hood over her head. What the hell? That woman number one is ugly. Imagine how bad she smells, man. I'm told her and Obama just stink. Obama and Hillary both smell like sulfur. Literal vampire pot belly goblins are hobbling round coming after us. My spirit gets close to that evil and I feel it go. We're such self-centered crap. We don't even notice hell itself rising up against us. Millions of pointed people of the very worst type, and I'm so pissed. We're gonna stab your daughter at the mall. We're gonna stab your wife, your son. We're gonna stab you with a butcher knife, and then the police chief is gonna say, we love our Somalis, we love our Muslims. Oh, they're so good, oh, they're so sweet.
Like the pine trees lining the winding road, I got a name, I got a name. Like the singing bird and the croaking toad, I got a name, I got a name. And I carry it with me like my daddy did, but I'm living the dream that he kept hid. Moving me down the highway, rolling me down the highway, moving ahead so life won't pass me by. Like a north wind whistling down the sky, I got a song, I got a song. Like the whippoorwill and the babies cry, I got a song, I got a song. And I carry it with me and I sing it loud. If it gets me nowhere, I go there proud. Moving me down the highway, rolling me down the highway, moving ahead so life won't pass me by. a dream. I got a dream. They can change their minds, but they can't change me. I got a dream. I got a dream. Oh, I know I could share it if you want me to. If you're going my way, I'll go with you. Moving me down the highway, rolling me down the highway, moving ahead so life won't pass me by. Moving me down the highway, rolling me down the highway, moving ahead so life won't pass me by.
I take you to the candy shop. I let you lick the lollipop. Go ahead, girl, don't you stop. Keep going until you hit the spot. Whoa. To the candy shop, yeah. Want one taste of what I got. I have you spending all you got. Come on, keep going until you hit the spot. Whoa. Don't know what your way. How do you want it? You gon' back that thing up or should I push up on it? Temperature rising, okay, let's go to the next level. Dance floor jam-packed, hot as a tea kettle. I'll break it down for you now, baby, it's simple. If you be a nympho, I'll be a nympho. In the hotel or in the back of the rental, on the beach or in the park, it's whatever you winnow. Got the magic stick, I'm the love doctor. Had your friends teasing you about how sprung I got you. Wanna show me you can work it, baby, no problem. Get on top and get to bounce around like a low rider. I'm a seasoned vet when it come to this shit. After you work up a sweat, you can play with the stick. I'm trying to explain, baby, the best way I can. I'm melting your mouth, girl, not in your head. Take you to the candy shop. I let you lick the lollipop. Go ahead, girl, don't you stop. Keep going until you hit the spot. Whoa. Into the candy shop. Want one taste of what I got. I have you spending all you got. Keep going until you hit the spot. Whoa. What we do, what we do, and where we do, and where we do, the things we do, are just between me and you. Yeah, oh yeah. Give it to me, baby, nice and slow. Climb on top, ride like you in a rodeo. You ain't never heard a sound like this before, cause I ain't never put it down like this. Soon as I come through the door, she get the pulling on my zipper. It's like it's a race, who could get undressed quicker. Isn't it ironic how erotic it is to watch her in thongs? Had me thinking about that ass after I'm gone. I touched the right spot at the right time. Lights on, the lights off, she like it from behind. So seductive, you should see the way she whine. Her hips in slow-mo on the floor when we grind. Long as she ain't stopping, homie, I ain't stopping. Dripping wet with sweat, man, it's on and popping. On my champagne campaign, bottle after bottle is on. Then we gon' sip till every bubble and every bottle is gone. Take you to the candy shop. I let you lick the lollipop. Go ahead, girl, don't you stop. Keep going until you hit the spot. Whoa. Into the candy shop. Yeah. Want one taste of what I got. I have you spending all you got. Come on, keep going until you hit the spot. Whoa. Take you to the candy shop. I let you lick the lollipop. Go ahead, girl, don't you stop. Keep going until you hit the spot. Whoa. Give it to me, baby, nice and slow. Climb on top, ride like you in a rodeo. You ain't never heard a sound like this before, cause I ain't never put it down like this. Soon as I come through the door, she get the pulling on my zipper. It's like it's a race, who can get undressed quicker.
Isn't it ironic how erotic it is to watch her in thongs? Here's to the man who paved the way in every step I take today. Your shoes fit me now, and I choose to honor you, Pops, in these old leather shoes. I remember staring at those shoes by the bed, too big for my feet, but I put them on and pretend. Tales of the battles, the dreams you pursue, life that you lived in those old leather shoes. Now I'm standing tall, tall, where you used to stand. Papa's shoes fit, now I'm the man. With every step I take, you're striding me. Papa's shoes fit just like they should be. Years went by, I learned from the best. The lessons you gave put me to the test. Where you work hard, love you never lose. Walk through storms in those worn shoes. Now I'm standing tall, tall. You used to stand. Papa's shoes fit. Now I'm the man. Well, with every step I feel your stride.
Hell of a show. Hell of a show. Welcome back, everyone, from your smoke break.
The After Dark special.
Little recap.
Make sure you hold the remote close so when your mom walks in, you can turn it off.
Change it to black and white so she
Yeah.
only sees light shadows. She can't tell there's color. She don't want to see flesh tones bouncing off the side of the walls.
Mm-mm.
Welcome, everyone, to the after show. Fantom Facts, first time we have interviewed a National Socialist, more affectionately known as a Nazi. And I mean, very interesting. Had at times like a little KKK vibes.
You think?
Just I felt just not. I'm not saying. I'm just saying the whole wanting to just ship them back to Africa and start anew is. I'm not a fan of it. You know, I would almost go do this. I would say anyone that wants to go to Africa can go to Africa. But you know, this is the problem, man. Like, and I pulled this clip because we were talking a little bit about Zelensky, who is also a Jew, and they had the Nazi movement moving for them, And a lot of people don't remember this about that, but in 2014, Zelensky was doing this to his fellow Ukrainians because they wouldn't speak the proper language.
Он что, залп сделал?
This is, I just feel like this stuff right here is what that language ends up resulting in, because you're going to get people that aren't going to agree with your ideology. And then, of course, your ideology is superior. And of course, the founders of this always say, well, this will never happen, right? Obviously, this will never happen. But it did happen. It just happened. It happened 10 years ago to a civilized Western country like Ukraine, which was civilized and Western. Did have some serious, laundering issues and, side hustle going on. But, for the most part, as far as the civilian network ran, it was very civilized. And they found a way to kill their own.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? You're going to bomb Atlanta because the black people don't want to move out? Like, what are we talking about here? Like, what? At what point do you say, okay, at what point do you draw the line? Because if you're just saying, and with uncensored, and we're uncensored speech, we're grateful he came on. And like he said, he's not a debater. Like that's not what he does. He gathers. He's an archivist. He just sees the transfer of materials come through, and I respect him for that, because that's part of free speech, and these ideas should not be hidden. But at the same time, I don't think they were right. I think maybe they were based in something that was right. Like there was real concern about manipulation of media.
They do have. Well, yeah. There is, as we all are seeing, there is a strong hold on what is going on with the media, what is pushed to kids in the schools, what's pushed in front of our eyeballs. It all feels the same. You can tell it's ran by just a certain ideology, or mindset. So like you can tell that it's through one set of lenses. It's not multiple groups or organizations or whatever pushing this all out and see who wins. It is definitely one group doing it. And what at the end of the day, what can you do? Besides going complete radical and going back and starting that shit that I don't think none of us want to see, but how do you fix it? Can it be fixed?
Well, this is my argument, and he didn't agree with me. He says that and I agree with him that the republic, the idea of a republic has collapsed, right? Obviously, and I think the dying gasp was when JFK died, and then it was fully taken over. But even if that's the case, 70 years, 80 years later, or whatever it is, 40, we're still getting now to the truth, and we don't know what the result of that will be. What happens when we discover, or are we not going to discover these things? Is this?
I don't think we're going to.
Why are we so attached to Jews, man? Like, I just don't get it. It doesn't make sense. Is it they just control all the dirty stuff? Is that really their only play here?
That's what it sounds like,
dude.
is all of that stuff that they went through, and now it's like we talked about, the other day. It's make as much money as possible, no matter in what kind of scope it is, and then just collect as much ammo as you possibly can on everything and everyone that controls and breathes, and then eventually you'll get on top. And I don't know if it's a big, hey, fuck you, because what our people went through. But because I mean, you see it in all races. I mean, you like the reparations pay and everything else, But like this one is,
It's
I mean, it's
diabolical. It's
yeah.
meant to destroy empires, and it's and I mean, since we're talking about Jews, yet again, we
I
might
mean,
as well.
I've never met a Jew that I don't think that is like I've ever felt threatened. Like they know that I'm not Jewish and they're threatening to kill my kids or family or stab me in public. I mean, they might go home and say, "Hey, he's got a big nose," but like it's never, I've never gotten that, but I stay in my lane and I kind of, like I don't go looking for shit either. So it's I don't know. I mean, but it also doesn't help when you have the even if it's the FBI or if it's groups or whatever that does the KKK thing around with the in the cities. Like I mean, they were in Nashville not too long ago. I mean, they were all over the United States popping up,
Yeah.
just to
Well, we
kind of
talked about
stir
that.
stir the pot. And it's but I mean, that's how this whole thing, it's always going to go no matter what. Is they have to have division, they have to have racism, they have to I don't think we're ever going to break away from that, unfortunately. How sad that is. I mean, it's
Really?
gonna no, I really don't. I really don't, because you're gonna have too many people on all different walks not worrying about what's now in the future, but what had happened to my people or my ancestors or whatever, fucking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and we need to fight for them because they didn't have a chance to speak. At some point, we have to put that to bed and try to rewrite the future and take care of the now. But I
Well,
don't
and that's
see
why
it.
I
I
feel
don't
like
ever see
this
it happen.
move. Well, and that's why I just, listen. I get it. We want to hear Hitler's speeches. We want to understand the true culture, and our eyes open up to what happened in World War II. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but Trump several times has mentioned how Russia won World War II, which I've never heard a sitting U.S. president ever say, and he has said it several times, and
Really?
it's truth. That is the truth of the history. They gave 40 million souls to push Germany into a corner, and then we came in and cleaned up right
Cleaned
at the
up.
very end.
Yeah.
Which, hey, I'm not downplaying what we did. Like, I'm very pro-American. I think
Yeah.
you know me enough to say that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm also a historical factualist, and Russia bailed out Western civilization huge time. And but then there's the argument there is, did they bail out, or was this by design to prevent Hitler from making his point? Either way, it comes down to killing 100 million people to get a point across, and I think that's, we're having these wars based off of this propaganda, and if we're truly transparent, maybe we could have one final war and then just be done with it.
You ain't wrong. Where do we meet though? Where does everybody meet?
Mount Megiddo, just to freak out the Christians. Gog of Magog.
Do
Here,
we ask Elon to create an island and then everybody just goes there to this little island, and then you just battle? It's a fucking
Australia.
battle royal.
It's Australia.
Don't do it to the Australian people. They've had enough. Plus, you'd have to fight those fucking creatures in Australia too.
Exactly. That's equal. That's equal home field advantage right there. I'll take it. It's better than fighting in their jungles.
Yeah.
Here's Zelensky being a Jew.
Знаю, що у нас було 100.
I know in the end.
І це факт.
Do I need to translate this?
Yes.
Start over. Okay, all right. He goes, this is him talking about the trillions of dollars we gave him. I know that we had 100, and that's a fact. I'm not going to recognize 500 billion, he's saying. No matter how we communicate, with all due respect, again, with all due respect to the partners, I'm standing firm because this is a true situation. We are absolutely right. And the second situation, to be honest, even 100 billion, I'm not ready to fix. And let me explain why. Because we should not recognize grants as debts. Do you like it or not? I negotiated with Biden and negotiated with the Congress of the United States of America. I am grateful to the Congress. It was the presence of two parties, but he's not going to pay you back any of the money.
Not a dime. And that Ian Carroll clip that we played earlier, come to find out that we have given more money to Israel than we have to Ukraine.
The old Kansas City shuffle there.
Yeah.
For a much smaller conflict.
Exactly.
For a much smaller
Tinier.
conflict.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Should we play more of that clip?
Yeah.
Because I sort of stopped it halfway through because we were getting to the good stuff. Let me see. Dan Bongino and Israel here.
Bongino just perfectly elucidated why we are so obsessed with Israel right now. And despite his and this whole administration's endless Zionist rhetoric, this is why, if you are pro-Israel, you are not currently America first. And until we deal with this problem, we are not a free nation.
About a year and a half after that, I'm in a green room at Fox, and I'm not going to say who because they didn't give me permission to share. It says, Epstein's an intelligence asset for people in the Middle East, right? I'm like, no, I didn't know that. I'm like, you sure of that? The person, let's say, is like, I'm absolutely sure of that he's either a witting or unwitting asset, intelligence asset. Meaning,
this part,
his plane and that island, the cameras, there's a big assumption out there that these videotapes were exclusively in the custody of Epstein. That's a huge mistake. The reason they wanted this story to go away is because there's an assumption like, oh yeah, Epstein had him. No, he wasn't the only one who had him, according to this source. These assets, that's why this blackmail story makes so much sense. Which Middle Eastern countries they are, I don't know. But
you don't know? You don't know which Middle Eastern nations? So there's this entire trafficking ring made exclusively of Jewish billionaires, from the front man to the mastermind to the handler to the bank to the literal ex-prime minister of Israel, also the ex-head of Israeli intelligence. I'm sure that all these Jewish billionaires set up a trafficking ring on behalf of Iran, right? So it's an open secret at Fox News, in these political circles, that Epstein was an intelligence asset of some nation in the Middle East. I don't know if you haven't been paying attention, but the Jews don't get along too well with these Arab nations. What nation could they possibly work for? But the most critical part is that the blackmail was not exclusively in Epstein's possession, because that's not how that works. He was doing blackmail on behalf of a foreign intelligence service, targeting all of the United States' top people, all of our top scientists, politicians, wealthy people, as well as British, just anyone he could get his hands on. And all of that blackmail is possessed by whatever country he was working for to this day. And they won't give it to us. So even if they blow this story up, expose all the files, even if they show the tapes, which they won't and should not do, we still wouldn't be the only people in possession of them. Every single person on those tapes is controlled by some foreign country in the Middle East. It's like, what foreign country in the Middle East has an insane amount of influence over everyone in the United States for no explicable reason? We are told ad nauseum that claiming that Jewish people have allegiance to Israel over America is an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory, despite the fact that on TV every day we have explicit evidence coming directly out of their mouths that that is often, not always, the case. And it's not always the case, and that's okay.
All right. Should I go a little further here?
Yeah.
Zionist and extremely pro-Israel and pretends like Israel is our greatest ally, despite the clear evidence against that. Sure, maybe some Israelis are on our side. I'm sure there's lots of Israelis that are on our side, that are good people, maybe. There's certainly a lot of Jewish people around the world that are great people. But all of these people are very vocal about cutting funding to Ukraine. That's great. But then they try to deflect and stay silent and just do a little dance every time we notice that we're spending more money on Israel than on Ukraine over the years. None of them are talking about cutting funding to Israel that is actively blackmailing the entire US government, has a secret nuclear program, is committing a genocide. At the very least, it's an apartheid state. Their national economy is deeply intertwined in the diamond industry and all sorts of illegal international trade and human rights abuses around that in Africa. We have anti-Semitic speech laws in America when we can criticize our own government and our own president, but we can't criticize Israel. We can't even talk about it, or else we'll get kicked off the internet, kicked out of the government. And I hold out at least a sliver of hope for most of these guys that they do understand what's going on and they understand the gravity of Israel's control and that they are just tiptoeing and playing it careful and trying to get the job done here without starting a firestorm that's going to prevent them from doing that. But it's not looking super great. And just like, forget about all the other conspiracy theories about Israel. Forget about the Rothschilds. Forget about the Federal Reserve. Forget about the fact they own the media. Forget about the fact that they founded Hollywood. Forget about all that. Whether you think it's true or not, it does not matter. Just Epstein alone, just Epstein, blows this whole thing wide open. And even if every other Jewish conspiracy theory was not true, and a lot of them are not true, some of them are maybe, Epstein alone would be cause to sever all diplomatic ties with Israel until this story is completely exposed, because our government is not our own if our presidents and our senators and our top officials and our intel agencies and our billionaires and our media are being blackmailed with that kind of information and material by Israel. And Elon did this thing where he returned an awful lot of free speech to the American people. And there's this really rough consequence of free speech that it makes it really obvious when you're not allowed to talk about one specific topic. And the way that all the Zionists are going to freak out and call me names because of this video pointing out very clear facts that everyone can see for themselves online, that only proves my point. Yeah, Muslim extremists, they suck. Yeah, Sharia law, super whack. I want nothing to do with it. It's an extremely complicated situation. We get it. But just because a conversation is filled with blackmail and psyops and COINTELPRO and misinformation and just trash does not mean we can avoid the conversation about the entire US government being blackmailed with kiddie videos. So Bongino, look at the map. Who do you think he was working for?
Not a good sign. Not a good sign. Do you think we should be giving money to Israel? Feel free to call in 1-833 Phantoms, Fantoms. So new. What do you think of that, Phantoms?
I like it.
Phantoms?
I like it. Yeah.
1-833 Phantoms with an F. It may not work correctly. This is our first time, so it could go horribly wrong. And if that happens, we apologize.
We'll work through it together.
I gotta stop with the Jew talk, man. It's too much. Friday night, not today. I mean, we gotta move on. Any closing thoughts before we close this chapter? We did get invited onto JQ Radio 24/7 to talk to more people about this, and I would like to, because this is very new, but. And I'd like to have some of these arguments about, what's your end game here too.
Yeah.
And so we'll have to figure out a time for that. If you want to join us with that one, that'd be sort of fun. But otherwise, any closing thoughts before we move on for the night? Got some juicy stuff.
No.
Food for thought.
It's just uncomfortable. It's just really like if they do hold all that power in that blackmail, like it's to the point where the greater inner being has to take over and just face the music. That's the only way we get ahead of this. Everyone just says, yeah, I'm a scummy sack of dog shit, but I bleed America. I bleed, red, white, and blue.
Well, is that the push for Zionism, right? Is you keep up the Christian allure so that you can't
Explain Zionist to me like I'm 5 years old.
So, Christian Zionist is a person that believes in the prophecies of the Bible happening when Christ comes back, and they believe that God would restore the state of Israel to a government, and that this government would be God's nation on earth, even though they're going to do things that God doesn't approve of, and they'll have to face judgment for it. It's still Israel. And God promised this to Abraham thousands and thousands of years ago. And so by giving Israel their nation back, you could get the populace behind that because it was a Christian belief that it had to happen. And so no one really batted an eye. In fact, everyone was thrilled about it, that Israel could get their country back in 1948, especially after the atrocities of World War II. And they believe Zion is the mountain of where King David built his palace.
Okay.
So that's the throne of God's kingdom is Zion. And so Zionists believe that there will come a time where all the nations will gang up against Israel, and it'll look overwhelming for the nation of Israel, and then God will step in, and that'll be the final battle between good and evil. And then God saves Israel, and everyone who supported Israel gets saved too.
Okay, so like okay. I understand that. But this all hinges on if I want to say this all hinges on if you believe that God is real and this is going to happen, and this is if we took all that out of it and just went day to day, because not one person has, I haven't heard, has met God, and
yes.
You know what I mean? Like we're
people that argue with you about that.
It's all of it's the boogeyman, it's the tooth fairy, it's the
Listen,
it's
just
this
a sec. If you have met God, please give us a call, 1-833-Phantoms. God, give us a call, 1-833-Phantoms. We appreciate that as well.
Data charges might be roaming wherever you're at, big guy, but hey, that's what I'm just saying. Like it's like I hate to like come off as like an atheist or something, but it's just like,
no, I mean that's fair. Like, if you just take the Bible out of it, but the problem is we can't take the Bible out of it because it's so, like think about that. If Christianity that is not a natural Christian thought that happens, in the 17th century, or I guess 18th century, this line of thinking that overwhelms Christendom. So, and there'd be argument with that, and I'd be willing to take that on, but as far as my knowledge, this belief of Zionism doesn't really take hold until 1800s.
So we throw out the book.
Was it by design, right? Like you create this ultra orthodox Protestant religion, and you get them to hang on to this one. You don't change their whole theology. You just adjust the end time part of it. And that end time part of it boosts you to getting your own country, boosts you to bullying all the other countries around you, because it's, I understand like most Americans don't believe this, or believe it to some extent.
Yeah.
But I mean, you watch that clip of Pete Hegseth, dude, and he is like, yeah, I am a Zionist, bitch. I mean, it's straight up. Yeah. It's just like, let me play it again.
A Christian Zionist. I'm not really sure why that is a bad thing. I'm a Christian. I'm a Zionist. Zionism is that the Jewish people deserve a homeland in the ancient Holy Land where they've lived since the dawn of history.
I mean, that's just such a ridiculous argument to base your. I mean, it's to base your foreign policy. Our foreign policy is based off of that, May.
No, I know. Like that's That's what I'm saying. Like we're doing all this on a book, and a belief that someone is coming back to right all the wrongs and to fix everything and to restore promise. When a lot of people, maybe not a lot of people, I won't say that, but like there's many people I've talked to that they didn't miss a beat Sundays, Wednesdays, Tuesdays, Monday, whenever church. I mean, they were there. But a lot of things that I started to hear here in the South was, church, the Bible, like it really is just to a point to help calm the ease of the bullshit going on. It gives you just that, even
A
if
moment to reflect on, I firmly believe in hope. We are creatures of hope. We hope to be better. We hope to have more money. We hope to have happiness. Why is it so wrong to hope that there's a God? Why is it so wrong to hope that your hope and belief in Jesus Christ brings you peace and calm? I have no problem with that. But if you're using that to allow 45,000 people get bombed in refugee camps and walk away and say, "Hey, I feel okay with that," well, then I would beg to differ, good sir. I think those things are not interchangeable. We should focus on the inside and not on what the fucking Israel is doing. It just doesn't make any, because we believe they're the chosen nation. That is her foreign policy, May.
No, I agree. Our foreign policy should be we are the biggest, baddest motherfuckers with some high-tech, advanced shit.
It shouldn't even be that. It should just be like, we should have the most high-tech shit to protect ourselves ever from invasion, and then we should have endless wealth distributed among, not saying that we don't work for it, but I'm saying like this whole bullshit Ponzi scheme of US aid and all that shit. No. $5,000 back to everyone? Not even close, buddy.
Maybe for my next million years, my bloodline stays alive.
Yes,
no, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's just like that's yeah. Why are we so? That's the thing. Is we talk about borders and we talk about for the better of America, but then we like. Why aren't we focused, like you just said? Why aren't we focusing on that? Let's make this motherfucker over here the strongest, best thing it's ever been, and then let the people have every opportunity to get what they what they can and what they deserve and what they work for, and like
because that's really, I think that's a lot of this Nazism talk. There's jealousy of Europe because, I'm jealous when I hear Hungary kicks out Soros, but I'm also like, if a white person was telling me to hate this country and was funding stuff to dismantle its republic, because that's what Soros did. He dismantled the legal system.
Yeah.
It was a simple flaw in the system where, judges, which are the most important aspect, were it turned out to be really easy to bribe.
Yeah.
And he got a whole bunch of them. Sometimes you didn't even have to bribe them. And then he created a whole education system that supported
Well, I
it.
think what happened with us, or with here, is greed runs rampant here in the United States. Like everyone wants to just keep up with the Jones or be better than the Joneses. So and in those other countries, like you were thankful for the little food or the house or the shoes or whatever. Like, and it's just that was instilled from that. And I'm not saying everybody is overcome with greed, but it's gotten to the point where it's like if you throw X amount around, you're gonna get 95% of what you want to get accomplished because everyone has that greed inside of them. Hey, this money can fix A, B, C, D. I don't care what happens to XYZ because I have A, B, C, D. You know what I mean? So it's like and that's our downfall. I think is you can throw mountains of useless paper at everyone, and they'll take it and they'll try to spin it. Oh, it solves this. When other like Hungary is like, no, fuck you. You're an evil person. We don't want that. We don't need that. We don't need that poison. Get the fuck out of here. We're fine. Like they have that backbone. Us, there's no backbone. It's how heavy can we
Well,
make our
I don't.
pockets?
I don't even know if it's back. Our yes, our politicians have
Yes. Yeah.
no backbone.
That's what I meant. Not. Yeah.
But it's infiltrated. Like I don't. I always think of us as a history book. How do they describe these moments? Because these are huge life changing moments for us, and in the space of time, there'll probably be a little paragraph, 1,000 years from now, if that, something, maybe not, maybe a little bit more. But I always wonder, like, is this going to be a transition to, because fascism, dude, I don't think that's the answer either. I really don't. I don't feel like enforcing your ideology and what you consider white culture or even American culture, not even white culture, just what you consider culture to be. That's dangerous, man. It's like making the entire country a Walmart. That's what we've been doing for the last 60 years, is enforcing a new world order culture. And look how well that worked out in the end.
What about a soft ship dictatorship? Like a soft dictatorship. Like you dictate to the point you want to make your country the baddest. You're not a dictator to harm the people that are in your country that voted for you and all that. I'm not saying like, they can only you can only listen to this and you can only do that. No, you become a dictator to the point of I am a dictator of the United States. I am gonna make this motherfucker from A to Z the baddest thing it's ever caught breath in its lungs.
Well,
Like,
you have to reassess what your value is as a federal government. Like, what is your value? You got to protect against cyber warfare, I guess. You got to protect against actual warfare on your borders,
Mhm.
and then what? Make sure exports go out smoothly so that you can receive money. So you
Yeah.
got to have a navy. Like, these are not horrible concepts. If we just ran on that, we just save a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
Because we're not running military operations all across the country, all across the world.
We're not sticking our dirty hands in everything. Our hands are going into the soil of what we're trying to grow, and that should be the United States, not meddling in all this other shit that does nothing for anybody here. I don't give a shit about, you know, oil fields in another country or this or that. Like if this is supposedly the greatest country on earth and we have all the resources and everything to sustain for God knows how long, like I get you're gonna upset you know, the the parties, you know, climate
Well,
change and all that
yeah.
other shit. So, but I mean, it's like,
It should be state level, man. Like, our
yes,
dictatorships should
everything.
be ran at state level, and the federal government should only be concerned about making sure that money runs smoothly interstate, and
Mhm.
that, there's no, that's what I mean. Like, the federal government has to get out of these things, and states have to be held accountable, because what happened is we always talk about, well, people on welfare. People on welfare are horrible human beings. They're milking the system. Not all of them, obviously, but, like, the people that are milking the system and all, doing everything they can to avoid responsibility or accountability. Those people are, getting hundreds of dollars a week. My concern is the states have become the epitome of what a welfare person looks like. They are bloated. They have a person that they pay $100,000 to move one piece of paper across the hall to another piece of
They're
paper.
the ultimate enablers.
Yes, and I remember it was sort of, because I remember when I came back from New York and I was an electrician, and we were adding outlets in the ceiling for their projectors. And I was like, oh, this sort of, I mean, there's like an outlet 5 feet over here. Why don't they do that? And they're like, well, they try to use up all their money before the next fiscal year starts so they can ask for more. I just remember thinking that was sort of odd, like that sounds like someone playing the system, but
Yeah.
that's our public school playing a system, and then like since that time, I have nonstop heard bitching about how our teachers don't get paid enough, which they don't.
No.
But we have given them money every year. There's a big fight about it in Congress, and then they give them a bunch of money, and then the next year, our teachers still aren't getting paid enough. That's the type of stuff that's doesn't make any sense.
It's all just done to ourselves, and it's all like you said. It's the government is just into too much. Put it on the states, and then that way, if that state isn't pulling its weight, or people are leaving, or whatever, hey, that motherfucker's got a black eye over there. You might want to be careful on
Why can't
what's
they run?
going on.
Why can't they run the country like the Big Ten Conference? Honestly,
I don't know. Maybe that's what we need.
That's honestly what I think needs to happen. Is you just run it like Big Ten football. Obviously there will be politics involved with it. There always is. Like the ugly looking actors need a job too.
Mm-hmm.
But it might not be a bad idea.
I mean, the crazy thing I took away, like from what that Ian Carroll clip was it is odd that we can shit all over Trump, Biden, Bush, Clinton's, the people, the Congress, all of us, but yet you can't say anything about Israel. You can't, like, not a fucking thing.
Not a thing.
You know what I mean? Like, that is just odd. That should make you go,
Well, you remember early on, I was doing work on Aleister Crowley, and I was going through, because I studied some Rosicrucianism in Germany in like the 1400s, and I was trying to find out where they had gotten all of these like dark magic books and stuff. And it all came from like I'm gonna get the area wrong, but it would be like sort of Tartaria, deep in Eastern Europe, one of them Slav countries where the they believe that's like where the Azkazani Jew or whatever, that's where that originates from. Like Gypsy Jew, essentially.
Yeah.
And so I found this book, and it was, a PDF file, right, that I downloaded. And back then, I would share you guys all show notes before the show started in an attempt to look organized. And it was the first time, after doing the show for like 2 years, the first time I had my message blocked on Messenger. And I kept trying to send that file, and it would not, and it was a PDF. It wasn't like a website or,
Yeah.
It was just a document, and like, how did it know immediately?
That's when you should have known. Oh shit, they are sitting right next to me. You might as well think, because they send it that if they can flag that, then that could scare the shit out of everybody. But
It was,
I mean, that's another thing. But
you want to see something crazy? Elon being a great dad.
Oh yeah.
I always say we have to be protective of our geniuses because we don't have too many. But that was when I watched this rocket come down about 3 months ago.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen this shared, but the original clip, it had him cut right here. And it cut Elon out of frame. And it's like, oh, I'd hate to have this guy as my dad. And I mean, this is the whole thing.
Come down about 3 months ago, and I thought it was crashing. I was talking to somebody on the phone. By the way, same thing happened yesterday.
I mean, we're dads. We do that. I mean, I do that with my son all the time.
Well, they
get out
made
in
it
front
look.
of him.
They
Oh,
made
yeah,
it look
no.
like he just walked away
Yeah.
from him. Just like, good luck.
Yeah. I'll see you when you get over here, little feet. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's absolutely drives me insane. I mean, that's such an, I can't tell you how many times I saw that on my Twitter feed or on Facebook. Oh, Elon Musk is a shitty. I'm like, first of all, like we're all shitty parents. We should all be trying to just make each other better parents.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing here, people? What are we doing here? Anything stuck out to you over the weekend? Pretty quiet weekend for me.
Yeah, quiet for me too.
I did see that Joy Reid got fired.
Oh, I did. Yep, I did see that.
Got a clip of it. Enjoyable clip if we want to share that real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Old Joy Reid. Now, I don't listen, we're not doing this to gloat on Joy. We're doing this because if anyone wants to hire Joy, I mean,
she's available.
She's available. So we're just getting the word out that our girl
Ooh,
Joy
PSA.
Reid. Yeah, our girl Joy Reid looking for a job.
My show had value, and that I'm sorry that that what I was doing had value, and in the end, I'm sorry, I try not to cry on TV, and I say this is kind of like me on TV, so I apologize. And then it mattered.
It didn't matter, Joy.
No, not one bit.
Well, you did. They lied to you. They lied to her. They told the poor girl that it mattered.
Mm.
Did not. Here's, there's some good advice here from Joe Biden, if I can find it, for Joy Reid. All right. Also Jen Psaki too. Like both of them, they heard about poor Joy Reid and they just wanted to. I just wanted to give her some advice.
Thank you, Jen. I do have a question on filtered, but first on energy. When is it that the Biden administration is going to let the thousands of fossil fuel industry workers, whether it's pipeline workers or construction workers, who are either out of work or will soon be out of work because of a Biden EO, when it is and where it is that they can go for their green job? And that is something the administration has promised. There is now a gap. So I'm just curious when that happens, when those people can count on that.
Well,
look at how smug she looks as he tells the plight of coal workers and Joy Reid who have been promised Green Deal jobs to replace the jobs they lost. But now there appears to be a gap from when they lose their jobs to the time that they can get their jobs. So let's see what Jen Psaki has.
Certainly welcome you to present your data of all the thousands and thousands of people who won't be getting a green job. Maybe next time you're here, you can present that.
But you said that they would be getting green jobs, so I'm just asking when that happens. Richard Trumka, who is a friend, longtime friend of Joe Biden, says about that day one Keystone EO, he says, I wish he, the president, had paired that more carefully with the thing that he did second by saying, here's where we are creating the jobs. So there's partial evidence from Richard.
Just want to throw this out. Jen Psaki, not a natural ginger, right?
No.
Just shows really what type of fucked up human being she is, that she would portray herself as one of us. And
she just wants to be a kink freak, but she's not.
She's not. She's not.
Trumka.
Well, you didn't include all of his interview. Would you like to include the rest?
So how about this? The Laborers International Union of North America said the Keystone decision will cost 1,000 existing union jobs and 10,000 projected construction jobs.
Don't forget, union boys. I have the pleasure of being in chats, and I am not loved. I am not loved.
Well, what Mr. Trump also
I mean, I'm loved by some, but most not loved.
also indicated in the same interview was that President Biden has proposed a climate plan with transformative investments in infrastructure and laid out a plan that will not only create millions of good union jobs, but also help tackle the climate crisis. And as the president has indicated when he gave his primetime address to talk about the American Rescue Plan, he talked about his plans to also put forward a jobs plan in the weeks or months following. And he has every plan to do exactly that.
But there are people living paycheck to paycheck. There are now people out of job once the Keystone Pipeline stopped construction. It's been 12 days since Gina McCarthy and John Kerry were here, and it's been 19 days since that EO. So what are these people who need money now? When do they get their green job?
Well, the president and many Democrats and Republicans in Congress believe that investment in infrastructure, building infrastructure, that's in our national interests, and that boosts the U.S. economy, creates good-paying union jobs here in America, and advances our climate and clean energy goals, are something that we can certainly work on doing together. And he has every plan to share more about his details of that plan in the weeks ahead.
Okay, so
pretty much go fuck yourself.
That's what it seems like she said, but I wanted to check in with old Joe, because sometimes I feel Joe just gets exasperated by her. Let's see what he told the coal miners, what they could do.
A family were in an area where it's coal mining in Scranton. Anybody who could go down 300 to 3,000 feet in the mine, sure and hell can learn how to program as well.
Yeah, they don't have to do that. I like this part too. I like this part. This is my favorite part. This is how you win over an audience, Joe.
People, listen, my liberal friends are saying, you can't expect them to be able to do that. Give me a break. Anybody who can throw coal into a furnace can learn how to program, for God's sake.
I don't think they throw coal into a furnace.
No, I don't think so either. He just thinks there's a big furnace down there, just shoveling it in there. Man, this climate change, they got to cut back on that furnace throwing. Oh, man.
And the best part about and I know this is old audio, but this is the president of the United States admitted what liberals think of you.
Mm-hmm.
They think you're too dumb to do anything other than to listen.
Out into the neighborhoods, they found 54, happened to be all women, not by intention. Mostly women of color, with a few exceptions, ages 24 to 52 or 4. They went through a 19-week training program at the community college there, learning how to program. And I remember telling people this, and my liberal friends were saying, you can't expect them to be able to do that. Give me a break. Anybody who can throw coal into a furnace can learn how to program, for
I play these clips because I'm seeing the meltdowns now.
That's 81 million votes right there.
Sure happened.
What is Jen Psaki doing nowadays?
She has a show on MSNBC. She did a interview with Jon Stewart, and Jon Stewart just pretty much made fun of her and her entire channel on his podcast. He's like, are you not allowed to talk badly about Rachel Maddow because she's a raging lunatic? Jon Stewart might save the Democrat Party. Yeah, I tell you who won't save the Democrat Party is David Hogg.
No.
Did you see this? This is breaking news. We have breaking news here, ladies and gentlemen. Dan Crenshaw wants to kill Tucker Carlson.
To this $100 billion to Ukraine, I know that people like Tucker Carlson would make the argument that there's a real opportunity cost there. We could have spent that money on the border or fixing, issues in America. Yeah. What do you?
First of all, nice to see
I
you.
hate Crenshaw. That guy's a fucking douche nugget from way back.
He just fully accepting his role as evil character now.
Yeah.
In the arc of his character development.
Make that argument that all this money could have been spent to help Americans and not Ukrainians.
Well, you can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. We spend 75-80% of our budget on a welfare state in America, on Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. I would love to ask Tucker what he thinks that $100 billion should be spent on, and if he would vote for it as a conservative. Tucker doesn't know what he's talking about. Tucker likes to visit Moscow and talk about how great the grocery stores are. So I don't really take his advice very seriously.
Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, all right, a little political sparring. Crenshaw got his hand caught in the cookie jar, fucking around in Ukraine. I love how these guys back it. Like they have no. Absolutely.
They weren't in the wrong.
Absolutely. Welcome to the show, Robin Laramie. What the heck? He is so goofy. I agree. Either she's talking about me or Dan Crenshaw. Either way.
Crenshaw's a fuck stick.
He's I would fall in the line of Goofy more than Crenshaw would. Crenshaw's evil clown energy. But it didn't end there, May. There's more breaking news. It appears that question upset Daniel Crenshaw.
Have you ever met Tucker?
We've talked a lot. If I ever meet him, I'll finally kill him. He's the worst person. Thank you.
If I meet him, I want to kill him. He's the worst person.
That's just like the Alec Baldwin clip that's going around that he threatened to break the dude's neck and kill him if he didn't have a camera videotaping.
That was. Should we find that and play that? That's well done. I thought I saved it. I'll find it here. Alex Baldwin. I mean, the guy's pushing his luck.
Yeah.
The
guy that played Donald Trump on SNL for all those years, and then,
he can't just laugh it off. They can't laugh it off, dude.
No, because they know they're so fucked.
I've lost like 7 friends on Facebook because I've ran an unobliterated campaign against against censoring myself, and it's just sort of been fun. Honestly, it's just sort of an exercise in trolling, and the liberals will not recognize they are on the wrong side of history, and they're going to go down fighting here, and it's a losing battle. I don't think they can recover now, no matter who they bring along. Maybe, but Trump's going to have to really fuck something up bad.
When all I hear is their 2 best candidates are in the same state, and one looks like a Goonies character, and the other guy is God knows what with his deal.
This is it right here.
Alec, it's your favorite president. Look, Alec, I will offer you a total pardon because I want to be friends, right? I want to be friends. I will give you a total pardon for murdering that woman if you kiss the ring. Kiss the ring, Alec. Kiss the big, beautiful ring. Come on, Alec. Come on. Look at Alec.
I mean, personal space invaded here, but I'm laughing my ass off. And man, I mean, he doesn't know how to respond to this, dude.
You would think he'd be well rehearsed because I'm sure he gets bombarded with this all the time. Like, not from a Trump impersonator.
Maybe not, dude. These
like,
people have lived in their own echo chamber for quite some time. Like, you watch Hollywood, they're convinced they're just right.
Mm-hmm.
Baldwin, right? He did that impersonation of me. It was not too hot, not too good. But look, we're back in office. You lost. Kamala lost. She's somewhere getting intoxicated. Look at that suitcase. Unbelievable. Well, Alec, if you don't want that pardon for murdering that woman in cold blood, you can call it first degree. You can call it whatever you want, but it was not good. She's looking down on me right now, smiling, happy. Thank you for confronting the man who took me out, who killed me. And that's okay. Sure.
No, you realize, but
Whoa.
no, look at me. I want you to look at me.
Sure.
You got a camera on me here?
The ring. No, it's the ring.
My kids live in this building, right? But I want you to know something.
We love the children. We're doing great deals.
We love the children.
For the children.
Be real careful.
Okay.
If this camera was here, I'd snap your fucking neck in half and break your fucking neck right out. So you know that, don't you?
Okay. All right, Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin, ladies and gentlemen, class act. Believe me. Believe me. Okay. Oh, he's yelling at me. Look, your favorite president's leaving. Your favorite I'm a citizen of this. I was born and raised in New York City. I love you, Alec. Alec, look, Alec, you don't want to attack your favorite president, Alec. Look, I love you. I love you, Alec. He's got more balls than De Niro, that I can tell you. De Niro ran away. Alec confronted. That's good. He's strong, but also he's weak because he murdered a woman. So that's okay, right?
Oh shit.
I mean, Meanwhile, I mean, we got the governor of Maine. I don't know if you saw.
Oh,
Remember
God.
Trump calling out that
Oh,
one
yeah.
lady at the governor meeting? She's like, "I see you in court." Well,
Yeah.
on her way to court, she did get distracted by a Drake show.
Comes out when the truth comes out.
Yeah, I hate this thing where it says the governor of Maine, Janet Mills, was caught at a Drake show. There's nothing wrong
No.
with being at a Drake show, right? It's just that you can be at a Drake show and know that putting men in women's sports is still not a good idea.
Yeah.
You know, but what happens is, I don't know if you've seen this woman. She's ugly as sin. And so
Yeah.
she has worked her way up through power. Probably very, she's had to make some rough alliances. And this is probably the only group of people that make her feel like a superhero, obviously. And so she can't give up on this group of people. Everyone else hates her.
Yeah. But
You know?
these are my folk.
Yeah.
You can run, but you know it's ending. At the bottom of the grave, you're digging now.
It's like a mixture of I don't know, Harry Potter and mentally handicapped.
When the truth comes out.
The hard part is I don't hate the song. Like, I don't know what the song is, but it's
a good
like
time.
it's I don't hate it.
It's a good time. You know how I'm always talking about Adam Curry
Mm-hmm.
and the No Agenda show? Let me play you a clip of his latest appearance on Rogan. This I thought was interesting. US AID. Do you remember when the Soviet Union fell, or right before it fell, they had that huge concert, like Metallica and Black Sabbath, and it was right in the heart of Moscow. I think it was like 5 million. I don't know. It was like 1 million people in attendance. Adam Curry was there for that, and this interesting perspective about USAID.
My whole family kind of comes from military and intelligence background, so I've heard. You know what I learned? This is crazy. So my uncle was big in the CIA. He was the national. He was basically Tulsi Gabbard to Bush Senior when he was VP, and then Iran Contra happened, and he basically became ambassador to Korea. Moved. He was exonerated, but he was moved out to a different post. My aunt passed away a couple of years back, and when my cousin was doing her eulogy, she said Aunt Meg actually outranked Uncle Don in the CIA. She ran the Russia desk, spoke fluent Russian, but had promised never to tell anybody, not even her own kids. I'm like, what? Whoa. Aunt Meg spoke fluent Russian and ran the Russia desk for the CIA and outranked Uncle Don? Like, that's some crazy stuff. Crazy. And all those folks, they remember Russia as the real bad guys. I mean, I went to, this is my own USAID story. So in 1988, I think it was, we had the Moscow Music Peace Festival. Do you remember that?
No.
And this is before the wall came down, and it was, I was the only MTV person who went. We went on a 727 from Newark. It was Ozzy Osbourne, basically Black Sabbath. It was Bon Jovi, Motley Crue, Skid Row. We stopped in Germany to pick up the Scorpions.
What was that flight like?
Dude. Dude, this, you'll love this.
Look at you guys.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Wow.
So the
Look,
reason
you're filming things even back then.
So the reason this happened was,
look at you.
Yeah, there you go. Tico Torres from Bon Jovi. I mean, so Doc McGee, who was the manager of Bon Jovi and Motley Crue, I'm paraphrasing the story, but I'm pretty sure it's correct.
That was Ozzy.
Oh,
I just realized that was Ozzy and Sharon Osbourne.
Oh, yeah.
Like, who are those people? I'm like,
look at Sharon. Look at Sharon. She's like a
kid.
And like a British housefrau, nice roly-poly. She's not no O-face for her. So
O-face? Oh,
Ozempic. Yeah. So
look at Ozzy.
So Doc McGee's Learjet had been caught smuggling in bales of marijuana into Florida. And his get out of jail free card was he was supposed to organize an anti-drug and alcohol concert in Moscow.
Ooh.
Right. So this is where I'm pretty sure USAID came into it and the CIA. And so this was supposed to be a complete drug-free, alcohol-free. We're all going to go there. We're going to do a huge one-night concert. We're there for a week. On the plane, Ozzy is so drunk. He's so drunk. So we're in the back there, and he's at the lavatory mid plane, and it's someone else is in there, and he's like, share, and she goes, oh, Ozzy, and he pees his pants right there in the aisle. I'm like, holy crap! Ozzy peed his pants. Sharon. So this was a wild trip. And I got a briefing beforehand by some dudes in suits. This is 88, so I wasn't really thinking USAID, CIA, and they're like, here's the deal, you're going to be there. Do not talk to any women. Don't go to any hookers. Do not take any hookers to your room. They're all going to be KGB, and you don't want any part of this, and there's going to be, our people are going to be watching you. And just make sure.
hookers.
KGB hookers. We actually did go to the hooker boat, which was pretty wild.
There was a boat?
Yeah, they had a prostitute boat. The ugliest hookers in the world. Is like, nah, no one's going to.
Pirates.
We all kind of went to go check them out. We're in the hotel. They literally. This is Soviet Union still. They literally turned on the heat in that part of the city. It was winter. And the mattresses were made of straw, and you had to bribe the lady for a phone call. You'd reserve it 24 hours in advance. You have to give her tuna fish and toilet paper rolls. It was wild.
Wow.
Middle of the night, I'm with Sebastian Bach from Skid Row. We're outside. We go to Red Square. We're drinking vodka on Red Square at 3 a.m, walk back to the hotel. There's the Moscow Hells Angels show up. And they're on like these Yugoslav motorcycles, and they're popping wheelies and falling off. And we're like, what's going on? And then this Russian official comes up they had the really big hats. And he's like, tap, tap, tap on the back of one of the merch trucks. And all he wanted was T-shirts. And so, he gave him a whole bunch of T-shirts. Everybody leaves. Crazy. So we have this concert, and the kids they went nuts. Of all the bands, Bon Jovi, Motley Crue, Ozzy. They all knew Ozzy. They were all singing phonetically. Cries is high. They didn't know the words,
wow.
But the Crazy Train kind of came out of their mouth.
Wow.
And what was?
Look at this.
Yeah, it was insane. You can see all
Can you give me some volume?
There's some military in front, I think. There it is.
But the Lenin Stadium
Look at that.
And the crowd
Flying
loved it and
high
showed it.
again.
Fans stood in harmony for 12 hours to watch and listen to the likes of Bon Jovi, Motley Crue and Skid Row.
I mean, and this was a big deal because Russia up to that point didn't allow any Western music to be legally sold or played. And there was no Spotify or anything like that. So you were smuggling in CDs of the Beatles. You were smuggling CDs of Ozzy Osbourne. But, I mean, you couldn't hold it back come 89. It was a full-on event.
Who all agreed to play.
Wow.
So here's the kicker. The Scorpions had a #1 hit, Winds of Change. The Winds of Change. You don't remember the song. And it was the only song they did not write. And that song was the anthem when the wall came down, which happened literally. Oh, here you go.
The Did the CIA write a power ballad to bring down the USSR?
Yep.
What?
Yep.
Is that real?
I think so. I
don't remember that song. Can we play some of that song and cut it out, Jamie? Play it for us and cut it out. We'll cut this part out of the show, folks. Just go listen to Scorpions.
What a shame, man. We could.
All right, I'll play a little bit of it if you want to hear it.
Yeah, do it.
Because I didn't remember the song until I.
Oh, yeah,
yes.
I know that. Yeah, exactly.
The CIA wrote this song.
That's interesting.
And gave it to the Scorpions to, because it would make
I wonder
sense.
who they credited. I wonder who got the song credit.
follow the Moskva and down to Gorky Park, listening to the wind of change.
You know, I think that's really the offensive part, is that we could write beautiful songs like that. And what happened to that CIA? Now we get David Hogg and Nazis. Come on.
Did Joe Rogan, did he have a clip about the Girl Scout cookies today?
I do have a clip about Girl Scout cookies. Should we play that?
Yeah.
That blew my mind. Let me see if I can find which one it is.
Yeah, the wind of change. All you needed to do was play the very beginning of that. I knew that's.
Yeah, I didn't know what he was talking about either. And then as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, of course.
Studies on Girl Scout cookies where they break them down and find out what's in them. Oh, holy shit. They're fucking toxic as fuck. Thin Mints being the worst offenders, 5 flavors of Girl Scout cookies contained... Scroll up, back up. Contained levels of glyphosate and heavy metals above EPA water safety limits. New investigation found 100% of tested Girl Scout cookies contained glyphosate, 100%. Controversial herbicide and Roundup, 88% contained toxic.
I just want to have this on a QR code when I walk by Girl Scout cookies. So when they try to blackmail me into getting them something, I can just be like, here, scan this. And then you'd be like, you're selling me poison.
Yep.
Metals like arsenic, lead, and mercury. Key finding, Thin Mints had the highest glyphosate levels at 111.07 ppb, 334 times what experts say is harmful. Peanut butter patties had the highest heavy metal contamination, with lead reaching 42.5 ppb and aluminum at 27,500 ppb, ppm. 76% of cookies tested exceeded cadmium safety limits, and 96 contained lead.
That's wild.
Girl Scout USA, which sells 200 million boxes per year, $800 million in revenue, did not respond to researchers before publication. I wonder why.
Respond.
I wonder why. I wonder why they wouldn't chime in. Like they've done.
I didn't hear anything about my the Samoan cookies though. So I wonder if those are still good.
Probably safe.
Okay.
Do you think it's just like the machinery is so old?
Oh, it's gross. It's nasty.
It's just like made in some slave mine, and I
I
never
can't
got
wait
it.
now
I
to
didn't think
see
they were
them
that good.
and be like, you know what? Joe Rogan told me no. Say no. Say no to Girl Scout cookies.
I'm telling you, just have that phone, have that clip play. Just destroy a poor girl. One more clip before we call it a night.
Let's do it.
Music theory is witchcraft.
Mm.
Found this fun little clip. A little spooky episode finisher.
In alchemy, the moon is represented with this symbol.
Now, they do say that like Christians and Christianity is worship of the sun god, Saturn, right? And it goes back to Apollo and all that stuff. And Judaism is based off the worship of the moon god. Ashtar, yeah.
Isn't that strange? The ground intersects the most obvious cycle in the sky, and the resulting symbol represents the second most obvious cycle in the sky. It's a pretty direct visual reference, but generally, cycles are represented with circles. And that makes sense. What's more cyclical than a circle? One of the most fundamental kernels of knowledge, one that everybody seems to intuitively understand, is that music is movement. And that journey is often cyclical. You need to establish a home, then travel away. Then, usually, but not always, you come back home. This applies to harmony, but it also applies to melodies. A melody that doesn't leave home is just a tone. When I say music is about the journey, this is what I mean. If C is the destination, how do we get there? You could plot a melody as a trip around a circle. Just as you can only travel halfway into a forest, you can only go halfway into an octave. Anything past F sharp, up or down, is going to bring you closer to C. That's circles. This is salt, a perfect bisection. In our circle of notes, it depicts a tritone, a rather dissonant pair. Every obvious shape does this. Triangle, that's an augmented chord. Square, diminished chord, or really just two tritones. These shapes show the liminal areas of our circle. You can travel here, but it takes tremendous effort to stay here. The tritone wants to bend, to resolve. The augmented chord wants to scale, to resolve. The square, or more commonly the isosceles, wants to move forward. I guess there's one more shape you can add here. Two triangles. Now we're just hitting every other note. I think I saw someone expand on this once. Ah, but you can pull magic from this arrangement. Just rotate the star. That's the circle of fifths, a cornerstone of music theory and analysis. And it's built on a lie. You see, the power of the circle of fifths, the reason that musicians keep coming back to it, is in its name. Each note is a fifth away from the last, and they circle back around after visiting all 12 notes. A fifth is defined as a frequency ratio of 3/2, but the fifth that we use, it's off by 1/3%. Less actually, but it adds up. Look. And we're back at C, right? Wrong. We're off by 24 cents, give or take. A Pythagorean comma formally. The circle of fifths is actually a spiral. There's this weird, shockingly prevalent notion that music theory is a hard-bound set of rules that you must follow to make your music sound good and boring. I want you to know that's just not true. Music is squishy witchcraft. Theory is a popular way of navigating that, but you can write your own spells. You'll probably end up reinventing several wheels, but who cares? Have fun first.
You know, they should bring that back in school. You know, really give the music and arts department just a shot in the arm with that.
That
I like
stuff's
that.
fascinating, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I love music theory. I remember, I played piano, and it was, just shoved down my throat. And the thing that always stuck to me was like, they're like, learn this song, learn this, classical piece. And I get why they want you to learn it, is because you got to understand how the chord structure works. But I always thought I sort of had more of a Beethoven approach, and it was like, why would I copy someone else? Like, you don't get great at something by just playing Mozart all day. Like, you have to bend the rules to yourself. That's the whole point of music. That's
Push
what
the envelope.
we did that with our music episode with the song that killed disco. Remember? I
Yeah.
mean, it wasn't anything spectacular. It was just willing to, be different
Mm-hmm.
and more pure than what had been created over the 70s. Anyway, I thought it was sort of cool. Good way to
No.
finish the show.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Wednesday night, we have Spike Cohen coming on the show. Speaking of Jews,
Bazooka Jew.
Our very own Bazooka Jew. Hopefully he hasn't paid attention the last two. He's one of the good
first
ones,
hour and a
guys.
half will be apologizing and
And then furthermore, a shout out to Brett Murphy. He beat us tonight, 4K. We were the number 2 most watched show on X. But
couldn't
you know
get
what?
past the country hits, huh?
Couldn't-
Or
you know,
whatever the fuck he was playing.
Everyone's having a bad Monday, I think, and they just need to cleanse their soul, but
Not us. We talked about Jews again.
It's not by intention, but I figure we just get it out of the way here, so I apologize for that. I'm sorry. We'll be back with another Jew episode Wednesday.
We're gonna Jew you up.
God damn it. We do have some cool people that you remember Mike Wallach, and he did that whole thing about how viruses weren't real. Look it up.
I'm
It's
not
Mike
sure.
Wallach and the Viral Delusion on YouTube on Fantom
Okay.
Facts Society. We had him on maybe 2.5, 3 years ago, and he'd done a whole documentary, 20-hour documentary on how viruses didn't exist, how polio wasn't a thing, how AIDS wasn't real. And Sunday night, my co-host Project Constitution got Justin Leslie, who was a whistleblower for O'Keefe and Project Veritas in 2021. He came on the show yesterday, and he had done undercover work for James O'Keefe, exposing Pfizer pushing out vaccines. But in the progress of our conversation, he also started talking about how viruses weren't a real thing.
Oh shit!
Which really piqued my mind, because now we've got a little community talking about this, and he was a viral researcher. That was his job. That's what he was doing in Pfizer.
Just a cash grab.
It's crazy. So he said him and Mike Wallach have both agreed to come on. So
nice.
Yeah, so I figured that'd be a good discussion that we can moderate.
Was he a younger white guy with a beard?
Yeah.
Yeah. I do remember listening to that, because I was all about that episode, because he was like, "Yeah,
So
vaccines."
I'm thinking next Wednesday hopefully will work. Wednesday at 9 p.m. So put that in your calendars if you want to go down that conspiracy hole, because that is, to me, that's crazy. That's a fundamental change. Viruses aren't real.
No,
Is RFK going to expose viruses aren't real?
I hope so.
Are they not real? We'll have to go in it. We'll have to go in it. It'll be interesting. All right.
It's all about money, money, money.
Speaking of money, Value for Value Network here at Fantom Facts Society. If you like what you watched, throw us a few bucks. Are you rich, May?
God, no.
No, me neither. And
As you can tell, this project behind me has been unfinished for, all of season 17 here. So I'm poor. I ran out of money. Can't finish it.
We thank everybody for joining us, all 882 of you. It's much appreciated. And we will talk to you. Are we doing a show tomorrow night?
I can't, no. I'll be working.
All right. We'll see you Wednesday. Maybe we just do Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week. Can we do that? Is that a possibility?
I might be able to swing Friday.
We'll see. All right, everyone. Have a good night.
Sweet dreams.
Don't let the bed bugs bite.
This is the emergency broadcast system.